describes acts of extreme violence in graphic detail and may include discussions about demonology and the occult, topics that caused widespread panic during the 1980s. This content may not be suitable for children under the age of 50. Viewer and listener discretion is advised. Welcome to the Grog Talk with your hosts, Dan and James.
All right. Welcome to Grog Talk. I'm James.
I'm Dan.
And Dan, you can hear me now?
I can hear you great.
Okay, great. So Dan, where are we from this week?
Well, still in the abyss, unfortunately. We're in layer 13, which I've been informed is the Blood Tour.
The Blood Tour.
Dominated by a vast ocean of red waters, but with occasional pieces of land. Because we were debating whether we should have a random encounter that was purely aquatic, but
right.
you've cited some land.
There is land ho.
So still in the abyss.
We have and when we're in good company here on the sea, another blood red sea. We got a number of the Grog Empire out here talking to us. So yes, we're on lucky number 13. However, it's totally unlucky, which we were commenting when we read the description. Is there any place in the abyss that's lucky?
Yeah, I mean, when they tell you it's like the opposite of a luck stone, if that's the worst that happens to me on this, but that I'll take. Deal, I accept.
Exactly.
Give me the unluck stone, and I'm out. I'll leave. I'll take it. I'll wear it forever. I'll keep it in my pocket. No worries. That's
right. It is Seasons in the Abyss. That's exactly right. That's a good album. That's that's why we're hoping the Pseudo Undead will open for Slayer, though they think they just finished their farewell tour. But like most groups, I feel like they'll be coming back again.
I saw them on their farewell tour, and let me tell you this. This is a word of advice. If they say ever get back together again, be careful about going to a Slayer concert in which there's not seating.
Yes, I would.
Isn't that?
You're not old. You're old. You should have general admission is not something for you anymore.
No. I would think twice about it. I wonder if on the Blood Tour, do you think like in the gift shop on the way out, they have like a little box of these unluck stones, like one for a copper piece?
Like when you go through the ride and then you take that home with you, take this unluck stone and other random cursed items, that are, you go to the Disney World or any of these places and they have that really crappy versions of Disney characters, whatever. This would be cheap knockoffs of cursed items that you could take back. So that's right. That would be awesome.
But not the real deal.
No, they're just annoying enough and cost a lot of money. And they
overpriced.
And they don't even get back home. So people are commenting. Dan in the mosh pit. I don't think they don't quite understand the pedigree of metal and death metal that you and thrash. You know all the genres.
Well, so, we were all products of the 80s, so it was hard to avoid that stuff.
Right, exactly.
So yeah, but no, stay at my age, stay out of the mosh pit. I think that the Slayer fans and mosh pits, I think they just kind of assume it means just to like attack each other.
Right. Well,
right.
It's good that they didn't like set up an altar, because it is the farewell tour. They may have sacrificed you during that time. So.
Send this guy up.
Hey, they're all clearing out of the way. I wonder what's going on. Hey, I'm getting right up to the front. This is great.
Yes, it'd be like Aurelian with the pointing. I rolled
right.
1 in 2,000 chance. Yeah, Tom Araya, whatever, points at me.
That's right.
That dude, the dude in the Oxford button down, bring him to me.
Oh, the humanity. Exactly. So it would almost be like a Guar concert where, they used to throw blood parts and everything. And this time they throw your parts around. So that would be great. So let's go over our announcements. We have a great show today. And again, last time we met, we had a great show. And then we had a great live play. That's still a lot of great comments from the Aurelian live play. So congratulations to you for hosting that.
Oh, and to you, and to Rob Ritchie for helping us with the great guide through Aurelian.
Flambeau. So we had a great time with that. And again, that is done because of our patrons and thanks to their help. So as we said, GrogCon is currently delayed till next year, but we're having our summer tournament coming up. That's July 24th through 26th. The thing we need to talk about really quick is we don't have a Grog Talk scheduled at this point because of the tournament. So we may have one thrown in there because we have some things we have to talk about, but it's going to be on a play it by ear. We'll know more as we get closer to the event. So what's going to happen is offline, we're going to have live online, offline. We're not going to stream the tournament because obviously if we stream it, the people who go later will see the module and get may not be trustworthy with that. So
that's nice.
Right. So
that's going to really bring in the patron money.
Exactly.
We can't trust you guys.
We can't trust you. Well,
they're all chaotic neutral. Everyone's chaotic.
Well, but there are tremendous prizes up for grabs, and the honor of being the winner of the Summer Grog Con tournament. Seats are extremely limited, so if you're interested, go out to the meetup and sign up, and then in the comments put what we have 4 dates, 4 times that we're doing the game. Put them in preference. Our preferences will go to obviously patrons and to our local group because this was really for them, but now we've opened it up. We may have some special guests as well. So if you are a patron, we're definitely going to try to get you in. If you're not a patron and you want to be, go to patreon.com/GrogTalk. But we do need to see later this week if we can fit in a Grog Talk to do some of the things like the Dragon magazine you wanted to go over.
Indeed.
All right. So, but if you can't wait for that, you can't make that, not a problem. We have the Grognards Guild Online, which DMs Josh and Brian are running games on Fridays right now. If you want to know more about that, you can go to meetup.com, look up Central Florida Grognards Guild, or go to our Discord. Discord, we have a Discord channel. It's in the show notes here. Why don't you join up? I'm going to be scheduling, I'm going to be creating a patron-only channel for the Grog Empire because, as you know, there's been a lot of controversy lately in the Grog Empire. There has been moves by various members and alliances are being formed. So we need to provide them a forum to adjudicate this.
So maybe we should have a summit.
A summit? A council. A council, right? The council.
A council of Elrond?
Right. The council of whatever. We have to decide what we're going to call it. Mm-hmm. The council at the Shoney's off of 441. That's okay, Scourge, because you're part of the inner circle, so you'll be part of that as well because you're the provocateur. He's concerned because he's not a patron, but he's more than a patron. He has given so many items to us. So
we're not planning to off Vic.
No, not directly.
That would be ridiculous. Who even suggested that? That would be crazy.
No, I think he was commenting that if I made a patron-only channel, he would not be getting on that. So it's for patrons only and those who are part of the Grog Empire and Vic. Yeah. So that'll be great. So if you are not in a game, and also Brian has been, as time allows, he runs games during the week. He's on Skype and Discord where he'll say, hey, I'm thinking about running a game on, let's say, Wednesday, and you can join up. So if you're ever looking for an AD&D game, we have that for you as well. Giveaways, as we showed last time, our care package from Angry Dwarf Games came. We've got some groggy light-ups and modules to give away. We're going to give them away after the tournament because we still haven't decided what we're going to give away for the tournament. We know there'll be some trophy that I'll have to spend more money sending to someone than the actual cost of the trophy, but that's okay. And there'll be some other things as well.
I just have to say, groggy light-ups sounds like something I would see in the Sky Mall magazine on a plane.
That's right. Flipping through. First, you're confused because maybe the mask is fogging up your things.
Right.
What is that? That's a groggy light-up. That's right. That's awesome. That'd be great.
We should have a catalog, Grog Mall.
Well, we have some shirts. We have some swag. Obviously some of it would be from Angry Dwarf. It'd be an amalgamation, but people want our Moderate Evil T-shirt. They want the Throb and Tingle Magic Shop. There's a lot of things that we could put out there. So
there's a lot of role playing to be done with that shirt.
Yes, Saul's Identity Shop. There's so many things that people would want to do. So, what we do need is we need someone who can do artwork. Because if we could do that, then we would put that up. I need to talk to. I need to put that up with. I forgot his name. It's terrible. I'm having a brain fart here. But he's one of our local D&D folks who said he would do some artwork for us. I need to talk to him about that.
And if I could do a shout out, because I have commissioned someone to do artwork for my Gnome Skull module, which I'm going to be contributing to Vic's collection of adventures. And so I'd like to do a shout out to Yuri Prokowski Domingos, who's doing the artwork for that. So I'm really impressed with his work. Been really, really happy with what he's done for me so far. So
what's interesting about this, and I better be careful because it's probably going to cost me money, but you mentioned, true, you are the writer of Gnome Skull, but that is a property of Grog Con and GROGTALK.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. So so what you're saying is I get reimbursed. Where do I send the receipts?
Exactly.
Perfect. Is that where you're going with this?
That's exactly where I was going with it. So.
But I forgot to fill out the pre-approval, the spend authorization form, didn't I? Does it? I looked for it on our website. It drove me crazy. I couldn't find the spend authorization form. Where is that?
Well, there's a workflow that comes from you to me and then back to finance.
It's got your little face on there. Now it's like pending with you.
That's right.
It's right.
Actually, I'm with arms across as I'm looking at it. Oh, Josh. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
When we have spend authorization forms, please, that's when we quit.
That is the end. That's right.
That's it. We're done.
Well, all kidding aside, yes, if you wanted to spend money on that, that would certainly be fine because while we did publish that for our folks, having it with artwork, I'm sure they would appreciate that as well. So just let me know when you get done. But Josh, DM Josh, our good friend, says he has direct access to artists who will do this for free. So there you go.
Oh, okay.
So I will get you. He's on Discord, so shoot him a note on Discord. So yes, thank you, Josh. We appreciate that. That would be great. All right, so we do have a new, it's not really a new patron, sort of a new patron, that has decided that he wants a title, which is awesome. So Randall Case is worthy of a title today.
Oh, so he was a patron, but he wasn't sure yet he was ready for a title. He was concerned about the power, I guess. Well, listen, this is the worst time. Does he realize he's entering a world in flames?
Yes, but that's, this is when change is when people can take over and conquer. Oh, we already have an order for a Moderate Evil T-shirt, so there you go. Vic wants to get one for Jeannie, which would be great.
$99.99.
Wow, that seems expensive for Vic.
Is it? You think?
Yeah, considering
right,
he gave us a bunch of swag here.
All right, we'll cut it in half.
Are you having money problems, Dan? Is something going on? Do we need to talk about?
That's right. Yeah, my D&D habit. I got to feed my D&D habit. You've seen the eBay prices. They're not cheap.
That's right. This first printing of something is
right.
They're hard to find. So Randall Case will be claiming the great state of Maryland.
Okay,
right,
fantastic.
They're the crab state or something. I don't know what they're.
It's for lovers too.
It is for love. I think Virginia's for lovers.
Oh, I think you're right. Maryland is crabs.
Yes. That's
Virginia's lover.
after you have lovers, you get the crabs. You go to Maryland. You bring your lover to Maryland and get crabs. No?
I have no comment.
Okay.
Let's
they're,
roll.
They're great crabs. I've been there. It's wonderful. Okay. So.
Had you just been in Virginia?
No, not recently.
Okay. All right, let's do it. What am I rolling?
Okay. You need to roll a D15.
Am I allowed to roll?
Yes.
Or have I been banned?
No, you've not been banned.
Okay.
I know we're going to, and actually Dan wants us to get a virtual dice rolling because he feels like some of my comments, not questioning, but observing. See, it's not questioning. I'm observing.
You're implying.
I'm not implying. I'm observing the fact
I'm
that
inferring.
You are inferring. I can't help that. That divine intervention seems to be statistically higher than the actual event should be. That's all that seems to be. It could be over the next few sessions, it'll smooth out, but right now it's higher. With that said, please roll a D30 and divide by 2.
6, that would mean a 3.
3. Okay, we have another general. The general.
This is perfect for the times. We need a general, don't we?
Right, we need more generals. Less Chamberlains.
I wonder which side he's going to go on.
Well, that's true. Randall Case.
Vic versus the world. Okay.
Vic's got some allies too. Yep. So now a D30.
Straight up D30?
Yes, sir.
28.
Eternal. Wow, I like that.
Wow. This is a good one.
Randall
this is what
Case,
we
the
need.
general, his eternal. Well, we need someone.
He could be like the savior to take down Vic in a time of uncertainty.
In a time of uncertainty and doubt.
A hero rises.
That's right.
From Maryland.
Maryland, land of crabs. Okay.
I hope the monster today is a giant crab. That'd be hilarious.
That would be. And then I don't mind if you fudge the dice. If you know the roll that's necessary to get a giant crab and you figure that out, that would be great. All right, another D30.
24.
Let's see. 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24?
24.
Piety. Eternal piety. Wow, he sounds like the chosen
General,
one.
Eternal piety.
Right, now a D15.
18, that would be a 9.
9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Viscount.
Viscount.
That's pretty good, being a Viscount. Now a D60.
Don't tell me how to do it, okay? That'd be insulting. I know.
I didn't say a word.
Okay, so we're on the upper half, the high end, and I've got a 19. So that would be
A lot.
what, 49?
Yes. 45, 46, 47, 48, 49. Chivalrous. Wow, this is like,
Yes.
he is our righteous
He is.
chivalrous. Okay, and now a
Because this is
D30.
perfect because it's against the scourge. Are you sensing? Well, I'm sensing lawful good here. Are you?
I'm sorry?
I'm sensing lawful good
Oh, clearly,
here.
yeah.
Rise up against the chaotic evil Vic.
Which he said, he is an agent of change. That's what Vic says. He likes to think of himself as an agent of change. I think that's what the Joker would say. And everyone pretty much thinks the Joker is chaotic evil. So.
Oh, so yeah, he is. Yeah, okay. All right.
All right.
All right,
So,
what am I rolling?
D30. Of course, now it'll be Slaughter.
That'd be great, wouldn't it? He's a complicated guy. 20.
20. Let's see, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Hero. It was just almost enslaver, but instead it was hero.
Yeah, that would be strange.
All right, so I'll send this to you in chat so you have it.
Wow, that's fantastic. I'm feeling better about this. I think we're getting out of the abyss.
This could be the turning point, which would be awesome because we need it. All right, so we as the Grog Emperors bestow the following title to Randall Case. So on the power vested in me by ourselves, I hereby declare Randall Case, the general, his eternal piety.
Viscount, chivalrous, hero of Maryland.
Congratulations, sir. Welcome to the Grog Empire. May your reign and your tribute flow eternally, like your name.
Are his armies marching yet?
I think they probably were marching. That's why he probably said, if I'm going to attack, I might as well have a name to go with it.
If I'm going to die, might as well. Something to put on the statue.
That's exactly right. So, well, very good for him.
He's our only hope.
He is our only hope, unless he has a sister.
There's another.
Is that wrong? Does that sound creepy? I think it does.
I just watched that last night. I'm watching them again.
Oh, good for you.
Thank you.
Are you seeing the originals, or are you actually going to watch them
I'm watching
in
Disney
sequential
Plus.
order or in order of release?
I can't watch the first 3. I refuse. We're watching 4, 5, and 6 simply so that way I'll watch, I guess, 9, the last one. And I'm really upset. Well, we can't go into this because we don't have a lot of time. I'm very upset that they put Java in Empire. Well, come on. I mean, not Empire. I mean, Empire, right? Yeah, Empire. They add a little clip. Didn't Lucas add a little clip?
Yes.
Where I mean, come on. Whatever. We need to move on.
Okay.
Don't get me started.
Well, it's okay. This is last time I checked. This is our show. We can talk about whatever you'd like to talk about.
Or no, Star Wars. It was Star Wars, right? That they added a clip of Jabba because Han is leaving.
Right.
And Jabba's like, "Oh, you owe me money." Well, come on. All right,
well, I like the original. The guy that they had like a big, giant, like guy in a not a minstrel suit, like a Burgermeister as the actor. That because they were going to CGI it later, and they had some guy walking around, and then they put in the giant thing. So both of them are pretty fun. Stay on target. Well, that could be for more things than that. All right, we are now ready for random encounter. So for those who remember, it's almost going off the rails at this point, but we had a giant porcupine who defeated an Ustaglor. Then we had Divine Intervention, where the Myconid came to defeat the giant porcupine.
That's a mushroom man, right?
Yes, the fungus man.
Fungus man.
That's right, and there's a shirt. People want a fungus man shirt, too.
That'd be awesome.
Right.
Maybe but I don't even know if Lotus can give he probably doesn't have the rights to it.
Well, that's right, because that's one of the things we may be talking about next month. Potentially, we may have someone named Burl Bodis coming on.
Right. So, but I don't think he owns the rights to Fungus Man. But Fungus Man t-shirt. Yeah, but we get somebody to draw Fungus Man, and then we put it on a t-shirt.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, it would be.
Or we could just take our chances and just take that one right off of the thing and splap it on a shirt.
We could do that.
Right. And see how quickly Wizards of the Coast sues us, or Hasbro, and says, we want all your profits, and we send them a bill. And
exactly, our debt. That's exactly right. You can have us. Buy us, please.
That's right.
Get me out from under this debt.
Please, that's right. That's it. When you're not even worthy of a cease and desist letter, that's where we're at this point.
I think Yuri Prokowski Domingos is hoping we get bought out. When's that guy gonna pay?
That's right. That's exactly right. So.
Okay. So what you're getting at is we have 2 new random monsters.
That's right.
Correct?
Yes.
All right.
So this will be the one I'm running, the one you roll, right?
Okay.
So
I've rolled a 5.
Oh, for the Dorso rule.
Is that Fiend Folio?
That is not the Fiend Folio. Sorry.
Okay. So I'm getting out the Monster Manual 2.
That's right.
And you need to roll a D10, please.
You
might as well roll your own monster.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay.
A 1.
Well, it sounds like a dungeon to me.
I believe we're in the dungeon.
You're in the dungeon now. I need to roll a 10 as well because we need to know what
the
monster
dungeons
level.
are calling. That, by the way, who wrote that song?
Dungeons are calling.
Yes. What am I rolling?
A die 10.
Another die 10?
I never heard that.
Well, a local band. You've definitely heard this local band. They were from Tampa, and in the mid '80s.
Well, so you have
Besides
Nasty Savage.
Yeah.
You have hold on. Well, you have who was the big one? Nasty Savage was what? Or Nasty Ronnie or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You had Massacre. You had Death.
Not as thrash death metal. They became very pop. They transformed and became a band that is now synonymous with the holidays.
I don't know. You got me.
Well, the Savatage is who I'm talking about.
Oh, never listened to them.
Oh my goodness, they're from Tampa.
I know they are.
And then obviously when the guitarist died, then they kept going with a couple of help, and they became Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
Really?
That's right. There's a thing you need to find out about. I'm surprised. Or not. Whatever. That's fine.
Okay, roll it. Have you rolled the D10?
I did, but I forgot what I rolled, so I'm rolling it again. 2.
Oh, I love it. You're going down, buddy. All right, monster level 2. Now it is the 12 and the 8.
Okay. 18. That's a good roll.
I have no idea what this is because it's from the Monster Manual 2.
Uh-huh.
It is a huge pedipalp.
Hey.
Pedi. Pedipalp. A pedipalp.
It's basically a bug.
Okay.
I think.
Well,
It's
let
like
me roll mine before we talk. So we have 2 monsters to talk about. All right, I rolled a 2. That's Fiend Folio, right?
Yes, that is Fiend Folio.
All right. So now it's a D10 for me. I guess I'll roll my own.
Yes.
Okay,
We'll
it's the less
accept it.
pointy one. 6. So where am I? I'm in a temperate and subtropical condition. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to find out the location. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm in the hills. My God. Takes a long time to just roll a random monster. 82. I'm on the next page. A spider. Well, there's got to be a spider chart. Doesn't there have to be a spider subchart? A subtable?
Yeah, is it just spider?
It just says, oh, no, we have a spider subtable.
There you go.
I'm in the hills, so it's either going to be huge or large. Well, this is boring. Have we had a spider before?
We've certainly had a spider before, but I don't know if we've had a huge or a large. I feel like we've had a large spider, but not
It's a large spider. We did. We did.
Yeah.
It was Charlotte.
Charlotte, exactly.
So I'm re-rolling, right?
Yes, you have to re-roll.
We don't. 80. I swear to God if it's the same thing. No, it's not. Oh.
Is it a crab?
No. It is a snake.
Ooh.
Now I got to go to the snake
subtable. I love it.
This is the show where I said we need to move quickly, right?
Right.
Okay.
Doing a great job.
Thank you. 21. A poisonous. All right, fine. Poisonous snake.
Poisonous snake. Okay.
So it's a poisonous snake versus something I can't remember.
The pedipalp. It's not a pedophile.
Right.
It's a pedipalp, which is on page 100 of the Monster Manual 2. Do you want to start with that one first?
Sure. The pedipalp.
That's
and
right.
You were a huge
I'm huge.
pedipalp.
And
yeah.
And I'm an amblypygus. They even have. You see that?
I do see that.
Amblypygus.
Okay.
It's like they just decided we need a genus and species all of a sudden. Why do they need that? What was huge is not good enough?
I know. I don't because they could.
I gotcha. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
You want me to read it?
Or you want to read this? It's you. You can
That's
read
right.
it.
These are whip scorpions. Basically, they are a spider and a scorpion. Why they're crossbred, we have no idea.
Not the crazy wizard.
It doesn't say anything about the crazy wizard.
The owl bear dude. Okay.
Right. And they can be found in different colors, browns and tans being the most common. So I'm going with a brown, huge pedipalp.
And how big is huge? Huge is still small, though.
It is small. That's correct. This is still the jumbo shrimp of monsters.
Okay.
So this is the huge pedipalp have developed 2 whip-like appendages in place of 1 pair of legs. Another set of legs has developed spiny pincers on the ends, which these creatures use to attack their prey. They also bite. After a hit has been scored, the huge pedipalp will grip and automatically do crushing damage on all rounds thereafter. The chance of breaking its grip is the same as that of opening doors. So that should be interesting to try to figure that out.
Yeah, all right.
So, yeah, he's a bug. Whip it
Yeah.
good.
Okay. All right. Okay.
I feel pretty good about my chances. Unless you got a poisonous snake. I don't remember how big they are.
You have 3 attacks. That certainly is nice.
Wow.
Yeah, and you get that chance to grip and do crushing damage. So you're trying to grab and crush me. Well, I'm poisonous,
Right.
so I guess I'm not going to constrict. But I got poison, so I'm going to win.
Could be.
Poison always wins.
Poison is a game changer.
It is. Now, wait a second. It just said poisonous snake.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't say, what size am I? Or what? Wait.
Hey.
Hello. What? Okay, I'm I'm on spider. Sorry. Where am I? There I am. Okay.
I'm confused because yes, that's right.
Right. Why do I have 8 legs? Okay. Yeah. So poisonous, giant poisonous snakes need no lengthy explanation. I thank you.
There you go.
Or description. Perfect. Some varieties, however, are worth noting, as their poison is so strong that even if a saving throw is made, the victim takes up to 3 to 18 hit points of damage. Now, is that it says some?
Some.
Some varieties. So I guess that doesn't necessarily mean
What
my variety.
Exactly. What page are you on?
Well, I'm on page 89. So the
Of the
entry goes
monster
to
manual.
88 to 89. I love the drawing of the sea snake, but that's not me. I'm uncommon. I have 4+2 hit dice,
Ooh, you're a
one
big sucker.
attack, 1 to 3. So really, it's the poison, obviously, that's going to do it.
Right.
I'm neutral. I do not have evil tendencies. What are you? You're probably neutral too.
Yeah, I'm neutral.
You bug, I know.
I'm a bug.
No neutral. Well, no evil tendencies.
The only thing is, you're smarter than me, as I have no intelligence.
Oh, you have what?
I have non-intelligence. Non.
Oh, because you're a bug.
Bug.
So bugs don't have any. Okay.
It's not rateable. Your animal intelligence is better than mine. How about that?
Wow. So this is not like a battle of super geniuses.
Battle of wits, no.
Okay.
So this is a good tale of the tape. You have a better chance to hit. You have more hit points, but I have more attacks. So we're gonna see.
Yeah. Okay. So I am moving along, and basically, I want to eat you.
Right.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah, and I want to eat you. We see each other and go, let's make this happen.
Well, the only reason you want to eat me and you want to see this happen is because you have no intelligence.
Right. Well.
Because that's crazy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. This is why I love when my giant snake comes upon a pedal pap, I love it because you guys are stupid.
Well, that's true.
You're like, yeah, let me try to attack this snake. All right, let's do it.
Well, this could be the last pedal pap you do. So let's do surprise.
Wait. Okay, what's your theory that you can win this?
What's my theory? You 3 attacks, and if you miss, if I make one saving throw, you're probably dead.
No, you're done.
You're probably right. But
all right. Hey, everyone in the chat, start thinking of names for the giant snake champ.
Giant snake champ, huh?
Keep it clean.
Silent so far, but it's a few second delay. So all right, let's go.
I'm sure the chat's actually quite hot. All right, let's do it. Surprise.
4.
3.
Okay, nothing surprised. So we got to figure out distance. We are far away from each other. We are 100 yards away.
All right, I'm coming at you.
I'm coming at you, right back
I'm
at
much
you.
bigger than you.
So initiative.
2.
4.
Okay.
So I'm going to move. I'm an animal intelligence. Even at my full movement, I don't get to you. So I am 10 yards away from you.
This is great. We got a reroll then. Well, I shouldn't say a reroll, but we roll initiative again then.
Right. So are you going to move to close so we're both right next to each other and then we can attack each other next round?
Yes.
Okay. So now it's initiative.
I'm slithering toward you.
Yes. All right. Here you go. Initiative. 2.
4.
4. You got it. So his armor class is 4. You need. We'll just roll your dice. I'll tell you if you hit.
Do you trust me?
Yeah.
19, my friend.
That definitely hits. So I assume I have to make a saving throw versus
I like
poison.
how I'm tempted to show you the 19 as if I couldn't just simply put it on 19. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
All right.
That's okay.
1 to 3.
Jake Snake Plissken is going to be his name from Escape from New York. That would be good.
Okay. See, thank you. Thank you guys for
that was mine.
the confidence.
They have a few. But first I got to make a saving throw, correct? There's no minuses.
No, wait. Let me do the damage because you get damage.
That's true.
1 to 3. You have 2 points of damage.
2 points of damage. Let me see how many hit points I have. Wow, I have 9 hit points. I had 9 hit points. How many is that? 2 points of damage? So I have 7.
You have 7.
All right, I got to make a saving throw. Nope. It was a 19 that rolled over at game 7. Goodbye.
No, wait a second. No, wait. Well, there's divine intervention.
Oh, divine pet.
It's a round or so. Not this
That's
again.
Right. Yes.
All these monsters have poison. How many times do we do this?
That's right. That's right. He's not. He should attack, but he's not. He's going to do his divine intervention.
He is non-intelligent.
His non-intelligence divine intervention.
Well, maybe the god's looking down on him.
Right.
So and is concerned,
Right. But unlike you, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Oh yeah. All right. Your pink dice.
You see what I rolled?
Yeah, 90. See, because you don't
96.
You don't have the connection. Watch.
96.
No, I didn't make it. All right.
So.
God hates you.
That's right. God hates us all. Isn't
Wait,
that's a Slayer album. Okay, back to Slayer.
Yes.
And he's a good Catholic boy too, so they asked him that. Of course, I think Kerry King writes all the lyrics, and he's
Yeah, I think Kerry King was the one who was the anti.
He's anti everything. He's also a smart businessman. All right, well, that takes care of the Pit-a-Pap. You were correct. You're prescient in your prediction of victory. And what's good, there was no... the huge Pit-a-Pap was no match.
Nope, so we didn't have to figure out who the bug deity is.
Nope. Huge Pit-a-Pap defeated... I got to write this down, by poisonous spider.
So now the naming.
Let's say so. The names we have is Bitey Snick, Sylvester Slitherton. Just call him Slinky. We had some bets. Jake the Snake, Dan the Snake.
Dan the Snake. That was my nickname for that brief period of time when I was incarcerated.
When you were incarcerated? Yeah.
Never convicted.
That's right. Never convicted. Never arrested. Forget about convicted.
Never arrested. That's true. Never arrested.
You wouldn't.
If you search Dan Gormansky, you'll find no arrest record.
That's right. You will not find one. Okay. Well, you've only got a couple years left, so now if you want to start a life of crime, you could do that. That wouldn't be a problem. All right. Well.
Oh, like Breaking Bad.
That's right. Mm-hmm. You are the danger. That's when I think the danger. I think Dan. Dan the danger. I think that would be great. All right, so spell selection.
Okay. So we're rolling to determine what kind of spell. You want to roll?
Right.
Want me?
No, you can roll. You can roll.
Thank you. I like to roll dice. Gamers like to roll dice. Don't you think gamers would enjoy just rolling? Have you ever just rolled dice for no reason?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. 93.
93. I think that's a clerical spell, right? Didn't we say that?
It sounds like it is.
I keep forgetting the
rule.
Spell. These rules are just, there's too many rules. I want to say
you should dog ear that thing or have little tabs.
The sacred text? I don't think I can do that.
Yeah, it's meant to be used. That's my view.
It is used, but it doesn't need to be dog eared. Yes, it is a clerical. Now, roll again.
Okay. See if it's a druid. Now, 51.
Okay,
Brilliant.
so it is clerical. So
okay, that's fine. That's fine. In this age of uncertainty, of Vic Rising, we need the clerics.
That's all right.
Right.
So
okay.
D8.
D8. That's the pointy one, right?
Still. Well, it's not the pointy one. It's one of the pointy ones.
Right. Right. Not the four-sided. 7. Whoa.
Ooh, there you go. This would help.
Okay. Okay, now it's a 10-sided.
Yeah, we've had a 7th level spell before, so hopefully we won't get the same one.
A 10.
Windwalk. Okay, we have not had that. That's good.
Windwalker. Luke Windwalker. I like it.
Dan Windwalker.
Dan Windwalker. All right.
The snake.
A windwalking snake. I love it. Okay, so we are on page 54 of the player's handbook.
Yes.
Okay. Windwalk, an alteration. Touch spell. Duration, 6 turns.
Per level.
Per level. Turns, that's 10 minutes is a turn, right?
Correct. So that's an hour.
That sounds good to me.
And the minimum, you have to be a 16th level to cast this. So it basically lasts 16 hours.
Oh, that's right. That's per level.
Right.
Right. It's an hour per level. Okay.
So it's going to last the whole day. It's like the deodorant. It lasts all day.
This spell enables the cleric and possibly one or two other persons to alter the substance of his or her body to cloud-like vapors. A magical wind then wafts the cleric along at a speed of up to 60 inches per turn, or as slow as 6 inches per turn as a spellcaster wills. The Windwalk spell lasts as long as the cleric desires, up to a maximum duration of 6 turns per level of experience of the caster. For every 8 levels of experience the cleric has attained, up to 24, he or she is able to touch another and carry that person, or those two persons, along with the Windwalk. Persons windwalking are not invisible, but appear misty and are transparent. If fully clothed in white, they are 80% likely to be mistaken for clouds, fog, vapors, etc. The material components of the spell are fire and holy or unholy water. Oh, okay. So it's a fast ride.
Right. It's a fast way to get somewhere.
Okay.
And I like the fact that you have to wear all white clothing to potentially not be seen and be thought of as class.
Yeah, you don't have to, but if fully clothed in white. So, right, it's recommended
right.
that you wear white.
It's the CDC guidance when it comes to wind walking.
Right. For full effect.
That's right.
It's best to wear white. How fast do you go? Can you run into something? Is it, is it dangerous?
Well, yeah, I guess, well, you're not ethereal. You're kind of a wispy substance, so you're still in the prime material plane. I don't know, yeah. And it takes 1 round to cast, and if you're super high level, in this case you'd be 16th level, you could take you and a buddy with you.
So let's talk about, and I can do this for, so 60 inches per turn. Now, is this the outdoor rule would apply here, right? I mean,
correct.
Probably this is not great to use in a dungeon. I mean, so you can kind of turn it on and off. Like I can throttle it, I can hit the gas a little bit and let up, I guess.
Right. You can go from 6 to 60.
6 to 60 in a turn.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a commercial. So, okay. So I grab people.
Oh, person. Possibly
person,
people if you're 24th level.
1 or 2, possibly.
Right.
Is able to touch another and carry that person or those 2 persons.
Yes.
So, but let's just talk about me for a second, because that's my favorite subject. So, how fast is that? 60 inches. Would the yards rule apply?
Yes.
Outdoors? Okay. So that's 60 yards per turn?
Well, you have to convert that. So in aerial travel on page 50, which, by the way, I checked the cold water DM section. There's the book of silence against windwalk.
Okay, good. Thank you. Yes. So no one was abusing windwalk.
So it says here on the top of page 50
of the DMG.
Yes, aerial travel, paragraph 2. Players want to know how far they can go a day on a flying carpet for the purposes or similar device. For the purposes of long-distance aerial travel, assume for every 3 inches of speed equals 1 mile an hour. Thus, a broom of flying with a speed of 30 can fly a long distance average of 10 miles an hour. Now think about that. 10 miles an hour. That's like a bicycle.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. I got it. Sorry, my brain moves slowly. So for purpose of this long distance air travel, assume every 3 inches of speed is 1 mile per hour. So that means it's 20. So for 60 inches per turn, does that mean?
Right. So he can go 20 miles an hour.
20 miles per turn, which is turn's an hour.
No, 20 miles an hour. Turn is 10 minutes. Every 6. So it's about 3 miles every 10 minutes, plus or minus.
3 miles.
3 point something. It's fast for D&D.
That's right. So how much is that per hour?
Well, based on this rule, if it's 60, it would be 20 miles an hour.
Yeah, I gotcha. So it isn't. I was thinking, zoom.
Right.
No.
It's more like, even propeller planes. And of course, the next paragraph says, if your players are unimpressed by these kind of distances,
yes.
which, by the way, they all are.
So you're talking to me basically now. This
Correct.
Is Gary. You're Gary, and this is Gary anticipated. This is why he's a genius.
Yes.
He anticipated my grumbling, and you're Gary. All right, what do you have to say to me?
I'm here to remind you that in pre-technological civilizations, they are a little short of miraculous. Some of your players may have had to walk as far as 20 miles in one day. Ask them to remember how far it was if you have walked 20 miles in a day.
All right, Gary. Okay.
So apparently you're supposed to be impressed by this massive improvement.
So basically, he sort of did throw some cold water on it in another section. I mean, because you get all excited about it. You read this, and you're like, oh, this must be. I'm like, what's that song, Riding Like the Wind?
Right,
whatever.
Exactly.
You're like, this is amazing. I'm like an airplane.
Right. You're a very slow airplane. Balloons being carried by the wind are going almost faster than you.
Right. You're right. Right. The giant wasp passes me.
Well, the wasp is slower than you. I mean, The scarier part is even an air elemental at 36, which you would think, or in Freet, those are like, creatures of fire and air, or a genie. They're only 24. They don't move very fast based on this rule. It seems awful slow.
Yeah. Okay. So, because a horse, I mean, how many miles per hour can a horse ride? Here we go. Right? Because I know that it's there is a section talking about that
That's
stuff,
right.
How many miles per day?
Exactly. Yes, if you want to know that too, it's all here.
It's not that great, though.
No.
I mean, I guess the good news is the best thing about this actually not the traveling issue. Is it basically that it's sort of like a potion of gaseous form in some respects? So you can use it. Can I like cloud like vapor? So can I go underneath doors? So is that better?
Well, that would be an interesting ruling, and I would probably allow it, but it doesn't really. It says you become cloud-like vapors. It almost feels like it has to be up, in the sky somewhere, but doesn't really say you, because you're walking the wind.
Oh, and a magical wind then wafts the cleric along.
Yeah.
Or as slow as he will. I don't know, but hey, why can't I use this?
Well, but you can't stop unless you stop. The way I read this is you can go as slow as 6, but if you want to stop, then you have to turn it off.
It's like discharging it.
Right. In other words, you can't stop. You can go backwards.
Well, that's fine, but if I want to get into somewhere, right? Or it'd be a good to avoid combat. I become a vapor. Can you attack a vapor?
Not that I'm aware of. I'm sure with a magic sword someone's tried, but that's why it's curious. There's nothing in the DMG about it.
Can I magic jar a vapor?
That's a good question. Probably.
I'm not sure what magic jar does.
I know, you just wanted to throw that out there.
I did. I wanted to use a big word.
That was
a
good.
big D&D word.
That was a great D&D word. Magic
Thank you.
jar. That's right. Can I gaze him or quest him as well? That's right. So
That seems like that should be a shop too, don't you think? The magic jar,
the magic jar. That's
like a fine restaurant, maybe.
yeah.
No?
That's okay.
I don't know.
It's okay. So Windwalk, I'm not a fan because you're
For that level. I'm learning from you now.
Right, for that-
On this high level, that's what I,
Right.
that's the level. Now, the nice thing about the cleric is you can pick. So you're
Right.
not like you're stuck with it.
True. Well, when you're dealing with, again, in relation to the other 7th level spells, and you've got later in the book that shall not be named, illusionists have a 3rd level spell. Wraith form doesn't last as long, but you can go ethereal, and then you have the 6th level spell, Word of Recall, which again is the name of our segment. Instantly brings you back. I don't know.
No, I mean lightning strike isn't that that's a much lower level cleric spell, isn't it? Lightning strike.
Call lightning flame strike.
I'm sorry, flame strike. I mean, I'd rather have flame strike.
Right.
And flame strike's much lower, isn't it? I think it's like I don't know.
It's 5th level.
It's 5th. Okay, not much lower, but it's lower.
It's way lower because
Better.
You're 9th level cleric to cast that. To cast this, you have to be 16th level.
So you're in a bar. There's 2 clerics. There's 2 scrolls.
Yeah.
There is wind walking and flame strike, and the lights go out, and you can only grab one. What do you grab for?
In that case, I grab Windwalk because I'm leaving because I'm.
I'm going to grab flame strike, and maybe it won't work on you. All right.
So it's like I said, it's not that great.
Yeah,
It's some of these spells. They're like, really, they don't feel like they should be that high level spell. And the chat agrees. That question: can you rest while windwalking? I would say no.
Oh. Interesting. Like a flight, like an overnight flight.
Yeah, because you're being carried along.
Back.
I think you're having to at least concentrate on where you're going. I guess if you don't care where you're going and just being carried by the wind, then sure.
The other guy might be able to rest.
Right, he's probably could rest.
It's like so. Could you use wind walking like you're like a shuttle? It's like you charge money, take people places.
Yeah, when you're the high priest of your deity in the world, what better way to spend your spare time than providing fast travel between capital cities?
I blew all my money. I'm down on my luck. Oh man, I got to go to the wind walking.
Yes, you're going to beseech the deity himself or herself, because they're the only ones able to grant 6th and 7th level spells.
That's true.
You know all things, O great deity. Yes, what do you need, my child? I need to transport people for money.
Have you learned nothing? No. Have you learned nothing? You got to work on your sales job. You're clearly not in sales.
Okay.
You need the money to build the temple, right?
Yeah.
That's what you need. Yeah, you'd be a terrible cleric.
I would be a terrible, because I'd be truthful. And
You would be.
I'd be like,
true.
yeah, I suck. I spent all the money.
Right. I blew it down at the gambling hall. Okay.
But, why wouldn't you use control weather? And, the farmers would pay you for that. There seems to be a lot.
Yes. No, you're right. This is not good. You better have the right deity.
Yeah.
This could be dangerous.
Right.
Yeah. This is bad. No, yeah.
So
Good point.
It wouldn't be good. I think at that point you'd be recalled home.
Yeah. Oh, my familiar wants in. Should I let my familiar in?
Yes, let the familiar.
Okay, hold on.
Because then we have to start our new segment. This is what live TV is about.
Okay. All right, familiar's in.
We decided we didn't
See if
need.
he makes an appearance.
You didn't need pants for this show.
What?
You didn't wear pants for this show.
Why do you say that? What does that
Because
mean?
I saw you wore shorts.
Oh, that's true. I do have shorts on.
That's okay. I do as
Okay.
well. But you put a polo shirt on, so that's a.
Yeah. No, I don't have like
Did
khakis.
you
like
take that?
penny-
Is that what you wore to the Slayer concert? Shorts and a polo button down?
People kept asking me for drinks and like where the bathrooms were, where's the exit. It was weird. Like, dude, I'm a big
I'm
fan.
a cabana boy. Exactly.
Yeah,
So yeah, we have our new segment.
all right, let's do it. Right? Is this the
Hold on.
Have You Ever Played?
What is that? Something just beeped me. Who is calling me?
Are they someone serving a warrant?
I don't know what that is. That's crazy. Some kind of weird sound is coming through. Where is it coming from?
I hear nothing.
Well, that's okay. That was awesome. I don't know if that was from Skype. Oh, that was so strange. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, so we on to the Have You Ever Played segment?
We are. So why don't you give a
Okay.
little background on this for those
Okay,
who
so sure. So Kelly Villamere has been kind enough to authorize me to again use from First Encounter magazine. He had someone send me a copy, finally a PDF that I can use legally. I don't have to worry about it. PDF of First Encounter magazine, issue number 5, February 1983, because you can't find these anymore. And to do another session of Have You Ever Played A? And this is going to be Have You Ever Played a Wizard in the Heart of a Hobgoblin Lair? So you're going to be given choices as to what to do each episode. You decide what you think the best thing is to do, and we see how you fare. And for this, you are going to be Elron Baroon. Elron Baroon, a magic user, a human male magic user. Wow, you're chaotic evil.
Ooh, I like it.
You like that? You have a +2. You're level 8.
Which, by the way, for those who want to see this character, if you're going to keep playing throughout I put it on the Discord, so go to our Discord, which is in the show notes, if I remember correctly, or you can go to Twitter @GROGTALK, and I put the picture up there too, so you can play along.
Perfect, because you have a +2 dagger, a +1 dart. I guess just one. We talked about this before. They're pretty big. You have a ring of invisibility, which lasts for 1 turn, a wand of paralyzation, a cloak of protection +1, scrolls. You've got a protection from evil. I love it. Push. You have a push scroll.
Push.
Right? A man after our own heart. Haste and detect invisibility. Those are your scrolls. Your spells are Burning Hands, Hold Portal, Magic Missiles, Sleep, Ray of Enfeeblement, Continual Light, usable twice, Fireball, Lightning, Slow, Ice Storm, Polymorph, Self, and it comes with a warning. So this was by Kelly and Cameron Munn, and they warn you, be cautious with spells. You can only use each spell, scroll, or magic item once. And your hit points are 29.
Yeah, that's not a lot. It's not. The dwarf had a lot more, which was great.
Well, that's right. Okay, so I'm going to read the background.
I'm listening.
Revenge is sweet. Boy, are those rotten hobgoblins going to get it. during their most recent raid on your home of Silt. And what a wonderful town it is. They had the nerve of actually breaking into your humble abode and stole the gem of spell restoring, which you were coveting for your birthday. What a nice gift it would have been. But this should be some fun getting back your present from the slimes. Walking through the Kulnar swamps isn't really your favorite thing to do, but dirtying your robe gives you even more wonderful ideas on what to do to those hobgoblins. It's about midday, fairly muggy, and up ahead in the trees you see a campfire. You place your hand on your dagger as you feel no need to waste your good spells on a measly merchant. As you get about 20 yards away, the fire suddenly disappears. You then realize that this wasn't a campfire of a merchant, but a will-o'-the-wisp, which you feel in your bones is about to attack. You suddenly see the light reappear in front of you, so you decide to. So, just to recap, you are the wizard Elron Baroon. You are going into the Hobgoblin lair, searching for the Hobgoblin lair to get back what was stolen from you, the gem of spell restoring, and you've come upon what you believe is a will-o'-the-wisp, which is right in front of you. So here you go. You're going to have 10 choices available to you. 1, cast a sleep spell on it. 2, cast detect invisibility, then attack with dagger. 3, cast a lightning bolt on it. If it doesn't kill it, then attack with dagger. 4, cast fireball on it, then attack with dagger. 5, cast continual light on it, then attack with dagger. 6, cast magic missiles at it. 7, cast protection from evil on self and detect invisibility, then attack with dagger. 8, throw a dart at it, then attack with dagger. 9, use ring of invisibility on self, then run past it. 10, cast protection from evil on self, then attack with dagger. This is a tough one for me because I don't know a lot about will-o'-the-wisps.
Yes.
I know they're nasty. I know that much, aren't they?
Right.
They're nasty. That's all I know. How much do you know?
I used to know a lot more, but now I can't remember. So.
All right.
And I'm pretty scared. So let's see what.
Yeah, I'm leaning toward. I gotta tell you, I'm leaning toward. I don't know if I should waste my lightning. I'm tempted to cast a lightning bolt on it.
Right. Hello?
I think that's what I'm going to do.
Okay. You're going to cast, what's that? What number is that?
That is 3. Cast a lightning bolt on it. If it doesn't kill it, then attack with dagger. And I know I'm blowing my...
That's a big spell.
That is a big spell. I'm sure I'm not supposed to be using this on the very first one. Probably should go should I go invisible? And was that... Oh, that was detect invisibility. There's nothing for me to go invisible, was there? What are you thinking, James?
Well, I believe magic missiles hurt them, if I remember correctly. I don't think fireball does anything, but I could be wrong. They're pretty immune to spells, if I remember correctly.
Uh-oh.
But I think magic missile works, but I think it only does like 1 point of damage, if I remember correctly. It's some weird thing. I like the protection from evil, because maybe you can just walk around it. But 7 and 10... they just do protection from evil, then they attack, which seems to defeat the purpose of that. So, some people...
You better decide fast, buddy.
Okay, well...
I'm like Gary.
Brian picked 7. Bucky picked 11 and run away. There's no 11. I'm sorry. Vic has done Ring of Invisibility and run past. That's a pretty good one.
Oh, that's right. There was invisibility. I think that's very smart of Vic.
Yeah, I'm going to go... For some reason, I know it only does 1 point of damage, so that's why I'm going to do it, because I'm still keeping up with I'm doing number 6.
The Dan roll?
That's right, magic missile.
Okay, so everyone's in?
Oh, hold on. So, sorry, what are we fighting? Just got back. We are fighting a will-o'-the-wisp. We're a wizard in the heart of a hobgoblin lair. And quickly go through the 10 one more time. Sleep is 1. Detect and Viso is 2.
Yep.
3 is lightning bolt, which is what you picked. 4 is fireball.
Yes.
5 is continual light. And what was the other part of that?
And then attack with dagger.
Attack with dagger. 6 is magic missile, and then attack, something like that.
Just says cast magic missiles at it.
7, protection from evil. And then attack, right? 7.
And then detect invisibility, then attack.
Then detect invisibility, then attack. 8 is dart and dagger. 9 is ring of invisibility, sneak past. And 10 is protection from evil and an attack. There is no runaway. Sorry. Everyone likes runaway, but there is no runaway. The closest to runaway is ring of invisibility and doing that. Okay, I think everyone's put their choices in. He's going with invisibility. So a lot of people are going with 9. One was 7.
Okay. Did anyone do 1?
No.
Okay. What was 1?
Sleep.
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
You would have taken 22 hit points of electrical damage before getting away.
Wow.
That would have been horrible.
Wow.
Okay. 2. Anyone pick 2?
Detect invisible? No, I don't see a 2.
Okay. It works somewhat, although you take 20 hit points of damage before deciding to run.
Okay, so first guy took 29, second one took 20. Number 3.
I'm in big trouble.
Number 3
That's
is yours.
me.
Yeah, number 3.
No effect.
Yeah.
Take 23 hit points of electrical damage. So I need to mark this down.
Wow.
I'm down. Kelly's killing me. I'm down to 6 hit points, so I'm keeping track of that.
Yeah.
Okay?
I don't even see
4.
where's the hit points. Why do I can't see the hit points again?
Oh, you know what? You didn't get a picture of it. He did it at the very end. It's not on the picture I sent you, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
For some reason, he does the hit points after he says good luck.
Okay.
I guess that's kind of like good luck.
Yeah.
You have 29 hit
20
points.
hit points. Got it. Okay.
Okay. 4.
So everyone knows you have 29 hit points. 4 is fireball. I don't think anyone did fireball.
No effect. You would have taken the same damage that I did, 23 hit points.
Yeah.
6. What was 6?
Well, how about 5? Continual light.
Wait a second. Okay, you did 6?
No, 5 is continual light.
Right, but that was the same as A3, so that was no effect.
Okay.
Also take 23
Okay,
hit points of
I did
damage.
6.
Okay, magic missiles do damage to it, but take 29. It says DP. It must be HP damage in melee before killing it. You have.
I'm gonna be
Wait a
dead.
sec- I'm gonna show. It. Can you guys see? Can you see that? Probably can't see that.
You find a potion statue which cures 12 hit points, though. No, that's 6.
But you're dead.
But apparently I found it when I discovered a curing potion.
Okay.
So I don't know how you. I must have survived.
Why do you get the potion?
Huh?
Why don't I get the?
So
I just take the 23 hit points.
Right.
You take 29. You should be dead, but you're apparently not dead due to a mathematical error. The DM screwed up,
yeah.
and you find a potion.
I have 12 hit points. You have 6. Stop complaining.
We're alive. We should be happy to be alive.
That's right. Wow, he's
Good
not
point.
messing around. He's killing us all. Last time we survived a number of times before we got whacked.
It's probably like you've done this before. You need to get better. Okay. A7. Did we do 7?
Yeah, 7. Protection from 7. There was a couple of people who did 7.
Whoa. Okay.
Brian did 7.
All right, 7s. Kill it after taking 28 hit points of damage. The protection from evil helps.
That's right.
You find a potion stated in A6 which cures 12 hit points.
So he has 13
So they
hit
have
points.
13.
That's right.
That's a rip. 8. This is terrible. What was 8?
Dart and dagger.
You take 20 hit points of damage before running away. The dart throw misses and is lost. So the dart's done. Your
You're out of the
magical
dart,
is
it's
gone. And you keep missing with your dagger.
Yeah,
I guess then the will of the wisp just goes away.
apparently.
A9. Oh, see, Vic, he's a good player.
Yes, he is.
No damage as you easily avoid it.
That's what, and Jonathan did that as well.
Jonathan as well. Those two, that was very well played.
I was afraid that they could see the invisibility for whatever reason. But I knew spells didn't do much except magic missile. And I think it does like 1 point per magic missile, which wasn't going to be a lot.
I mean, you know what this means? Vic's going to take over the entire Grog Empire. He's going to oust us.
That's right. Good. Yeah,
Please.
because Wizards of the Coast is going to sue us. They can go after him for the money, which is fine.
They're not going to sue. No, they're going to sue us and then be like, look, fine. We'll do a deal. We'll do an official Wizard of the Coast podcast.
Yes.
And they'll be like, okay.
Yeah, that'd be great.
You see that happening?
I'm sure they don't have an official Wizard of the Coast podcast, but not for
Not for one.
Not for 1E.
Not for one.
You're right.
Okay.
What about 10?
Protection from evil helps. Take 20 hit points of damage before you decide to run.
This is just a beatdown.
Man, I think, whoever said there needs to be 11 was right. Unfortunately, this one didn't go to 11.
Yeah, because normally if you see something that looks like a will o' the wisp, you run for your life. So.
Is there anything to look at? So I want to get out. Can we look at? Do we have time to look at the will-o'-the-wisp?
For you, of course.
Thank you. All right. So, I'm sorry. I'm upsetting Grizzly. Does he look upset to you?
He looks like a cat. It's hard to tell.
Yeah, he seems fine.
He doesn't. Okay. He doesn't seem too upset.
No.
He seems like my.
I think
my
like,
servant is annoying me.
Right. I think like AC 0 or something, aren't they?
-8.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
I knew they had
only
super,
8 off.
Yeah, they had stupid armor class.
Whoa. Will-o'-the-wisp commonly haunt deserted, dangerous places such as bogs, fens, swamp. Well, we were in a swamp, so I've learned something, right? So Kelly was right with that one, and Cameron, right? We were in a swamp, so that's where you would find these things. A victim trapped by these hazards feeds the will-o'-the-wisp as it expires. Or the thing feeds upon the fleeing life force. So it was like getting ready to feed on your... So it would have fed on your fleeing life force.
But it fed on your fleeting life force, because you got, what, 6 hit points now?
Does that mean that I guess your soul can still go to the next world,
that's a good question. I don't know. That would be interesting.
Yeah, okay. Thus, will-o'-the-wisps seek to lure prey to their doom. 10% of the time, 1 to 3 are encountered. In these cases, the creature's lair will be nearby 90% of the time. The creature can attack, however, any hit causing 2 to 16 points of electrical damage. A will-o'-the-wisp is able to grow bright or very dim in order to confuse prey. So it doesn't just... as usual, I need to keep reading. It can move slowly or flit about. It can blank out its glow entirely for 2 to 8 melee rounds if it does not attack. And at that time, it can be detected only by creatures able to see invisible objects.
So there's the whole detect invisibility.
Right. While any weapon will harm a will-o'-the-wisp, most spells do not affect it. The only spells which can affect the creature are protection from evil, magic missile, and mace. That's it.
Yes.
So the only attacking ones, what's mace?
Mace? It's an 8th level magic user spell.
Oh my gosh. So really, so basically it's not so much that electrical attacks or lightning attacks won't work on it. It's just that almost nothing works on it.
Yeah, but I remember, I thought magic missile was 1 hit point. So at least I picked the right spell to attack it. But the problem is it has 9 hit dice. So I would have to keep shooting magic missile at it.
Why do you say 1 hit point? Wouldn't you do more than that?
No, it did. There's something else that does magic missiles 1 hit point, but it's good. At what level person are we? Does it say?
We are 8th level.
8th level. So I shot 4 missiles at it. It's going to take a few more magic missiles before he would kill it.
And so the big damage is, so it's 1 attack at 2 to 16.
Yeah.
So it's a glowing sphere looking like a lantern torch. So basically these things, they kind of blink in and out. They appear right in front of you. They want to kill you. Feed off of your life force. They do lots of damage. They're -8. So...
Well, what's interesting, they hang around these things that the traps kill you, even though they could kill pretty much anything they can.
Yeah.
That's the part.
Yeah.
That's the part I never understood.
Well, but they're lazy maybe.
Yeah.
Why would you, right? So they hang around these traps. People die in the mire.
Yep.
And then they go feed off I guess they hear you die. Help me, help me. And the will-o'-the-wisp is like, oh, this is awesome. And they go over there. And then they wait for you to die.
Right.
But so how do you kill one of these? They're -8.
You have to either beat them down with weapons. They're not against...
But they're -8 armor class.
Yeah, that's hard.
You can get 3 of these. These things, all I remembered was these things are nasty.
Yes.
These things are horrible.
Right. They are terrible.
Oh my gosh.
And
okay.
I mean, and that is interesting about the fleeing life force. Do they destroy your soul? That's very interesting.
And they're chaotic evil, and they're exceptionally intelligent.
Right.
And they're 9 hit dice at -8 armor class.
They're like the snot ball from Heavy Metal, the green snot ball. They're the bringer of evil.
Wow.
I forgot the name of the green snot ball. From the movie Heavy Metal. You've seen Heavy Metal.
No, I've not seen Heavy Metal.
You've never seen Heavy Metal the movie? Why are we doing
No.
this podcast? We need to watch Heavy Metal the movie. I mean, that...
Can we do like a Mystery Science Theater thing where we watch it and we
I'm
comment?
sure we can.
That'd be funny, don't you think?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if it'd be funny.
I could put
We amuse ourselves.
Right, well, we would, but I mean, that's right up there with Spinal Tap and all these other 80s.
All right.
Yeah.
Wow, will-o'-the-wisp. That's nasty. So whoever said we need number 11 run was clearly right. What's the movement? I guess, can you get away from these things? Will the Wither flying at you. Is this when I need the wind walk?
That's right.
18 inches of movement.
Yeah, but they're not supposed to leave their areas. They don't hunt people down.
What's my movement with wind? Can I
60.
help me with the math?
I
can get. Oh, so I can beat it with the wind walk and get out of there.
Yeah.
No, you're right. But so they're not. So yeah, but I don't know what their area is. I mean, he's zapping at me or whatever.
Yeah,
I don't even know how he attacks.
Yeah, he's within 10 feet, but they don't leave their area.
Right.
I mean, that's the thing.
So you found.
You have to.
And they have treasure in their lair. So
right.
You found the treasure.
Yeah, because apparently we the ones who fought him beat him down, and eventually he said, "Okay, I'll give you my stuff." Oh, let's see if someone just popped up. Oh, okay.
So this sounds like maybe good news. It sounds like what you're saying is you think Skip Williams is.
Yeah, he's ready to go. I'll call him in 5 minutes. I told him. So.
All right. So are we going to take a?
Yeah, I think we're done with that part. See the dragon.
On that note, this is terrible. I hope it gets easier.
Well, you got how many hit points? Because I have 12.
6 left. 6.
6.
Can I have some of your? Can I have some of your potion?
No, I'm chaotic evil. In fact, I'll give you the poisonous one.
Here, use this.
All right. So Dan, why don't you introduce our guest?
Absolutely. So it is our pleasure to have Skip Williams on the show today. Skip, of course, grew up in Lake Geneva, playing D&D there in the mid-'70s. He worked at the Dungeon Hobby Shop. He was a TSR employee from 1980 to 83, ultimately becoming the Gen Con coordinator. He would later return to TSR, be the author of Sage Advice, and he worked at Wizards of the Coast as well, one of the authors of the 3rd edition of D&D, and he is currently an event coordinator for Gary Con. So, Skip, welcome to the show.
Happy to be here.
All right. So, we've had a lot of guests on who grew up in Lake Geneva, and a question I've not asked anybody is, what was Lake Geneva like in the 60s and the 70s? Because so many of you knew each other, right? I mean, you were in Boy Scouts with Michael Bernard, I saw. Gary Gygax, I read, had come over to your house even before he was doing D&D, and of course you went to school with Ernie. So maybe you could just tell us a little bit, what was Lake Geneva like at that point?
Well, are you asking about the town in general? Or are you asking about the gaming community? Because there's sort of two different slices of things. So
I'd like to start with the town. Just we've never, we had so many people from Lake Geneva, and could you just give us a sense of what the town was like?
All right. So Lake Geneva was then and remains now sort of Chicago's northern playground. That's actually been that way for years and years. The whole lake is surrounded by mansions owned by rich people from Chicago. So names like Wrigley and Maytag. I can't remember the name, but the fellow who started the Diamond Match Company was there. His mansion actually became a friary for a while. I'm not sure what that building is used for right now. So it's always been Chicago's playground. And that's been that way. It was in the 70s, that's exactly the way it was. I mean, the town had maybe 5,000 people in it year round, 35,000 people in the town on any given day in the summer.
Okay. And you were in Boy Scouts, right, with Michael Bernard?
Yeah, Michael Bernard was a couple of years ahead of me. Terrorized the heck out of me, actually.
I was we had Michael on the show recently, and so I was wondering, I was hoping you might mention something about Michael, because Michael Bernard and the Boy Scouts, I don't know, it just seems like a question that's begging to be asked.
Well, as I recall, Mike became an Eagle Scout, and now he's a minister, so sort of.
Oh, and you knew Ernie. You went to school with Ernie Gygax, correct?
Ernie, yes.
Okay. And Gary, I think I read somewhere, Gary had actually been over to your house, right? Had looked at something of your parents, I believe.
Gary had been, I don't even remember. It might have been before I was born. He actually came over to my dad's house to look at his ham radios once. I'm not sure if he was, what that was all about even.
It gave me, doing that research gave me a sense that Lake Geneva seemed like a very small community. I mean, it sounds like the place where it wouldn't be surprising that Gary Gygax has been at your house, because it just sounded like the kind of place, I could be wrong, it sounded like the place where pretty much everybody knew everyone. I mean, I assume everyone went to Badger High School and everyone knew everyone.
Well, I mean, that's true with small towns even today. Yeah, small town America is described as the place where you're no longer a stranger after 15 minutes and you're still a newcomer after 15 years. That's was Lake Geneva then, maybe a little bit less now, as the town is sort of going into the new economy and not the online economy and all other stuff. But
so a small town, but my understanding is you didn't know about Gen Con for a while. Is that right?
I did not.
How does that happen, right? Because you tell the story, right? How you learn about Gen Con.
So I learned about Gen Con because there was a front page picture in the Lake Geneva Regional News, which was is still a weekly newspaper published in Lake Geneva. Covers Lake Geneva itself and all the little towns at the southern end of the lake.
And there was a story, and because you had not been like so many people had been war gamers, and then they found their way to role playing. That was not your backstory, right?
No, I sort of became a war gamer and a role player all at the same time.
And how did that happen? So who was it that introduced you to wargaming and role playing?
Actually, the first war game I played was actually when I finally went to Gen Con. So I saw this little picture and I was attracted to the little tanks. I think they were actually playing Gary's Tactics rules at the time, and went, "Oh, cool, little tanks," because I've always kind of been interested in little tanks. And oh wow, this LG Lake Geneva Tactical Studies Association. Who are these people? I have no idea. Well, this is kind of cool, but this happened the previous weekend. So, but then I went to school later and ran into Don Art, who was a fellow who lent his name to the invulnerable Code of Arn because Gary always was afraid of taking damage. And he had this little map. I don't know if he was that. I'd never played with Don, so I don't really know. But Gary seemed to think he was always deathly afraid of taking damage. So, not that Don ever had that particular artifact, but something that Gary thought he might want. So Don had this little map, and it was a World War II campaign that he was involved in. So we talked about it a little bit about playing tactics and things like that, and then sort of that was the end of the school year, and then I got to Badger the next fall, and by then D&D was out. So there was a fellow student who I had been to grade school with. His name was Marcus Karowski, who, as I told Peter, eventually, last time I saw him, he was playing the accordion professionally. He had D&D.
And so he introduces you to D&D, and so my understanding is you started playing with him just one-on-one games. Is that right?
That's correct.
And do you remember your first character?
A cleric of some. I was a cleric.
Well, good for you.
I got lost. in a tomb and kept running into the same group of whites. They kept going around in circles in the dungeon, and they kept turning these whites.
And you're first level cleric?
I don't probably.
And so someone put a white in a first level dungeon?
Who would do that?
Don't even remember. Marcus was very big on story. He would be a story guy now, less about rules and more about story, really. Ernie used to say, there's all these low odds things that just happen in Marcus's games. Well, these days people would just say he's a story guy. He was more important.
And what? So I assume were you playing then? Obviously, it was OD&D. So what year are we talking roughly? And are we talking brown box, white box?
Fall of '74.
Okay.
So
fall of '74.
Right after the game was out. So the game was only a couple of months old. But the Dungeon Hobby Shop was also starting up at that time. So hanging around there, started playing chainmail, started playing tactics, started playing board games all at the same time, all in that fall of '74.
Okay, and you end up joining the club, right? I said Badger High School has a gaming club.
Correct.
Okay, and so tell us a little bit about that, because I know that you've talked a little bit about Joe Fisher was one of the members of that club.
The president at the time, I think. Yeah.
Okay, who's creates the first Ranger. So tell us a little bit, because I think I read somewhere online that that group was not as welcoming of you as perhaps you would have wanted.
No, there was definitely a bias against incoming freshmen. No question about that.
So gaming hazing, kind of.
As it were, yes.
And you played, and so at a certain point in time, I believe also that you started playing. I'd never heard of this game, Warriors of Mars.
Warriors of Mars. Yep.
I had never. So that was news to me. So what was Warriors of Mars? How did you get started playing that?
So Duke Seyfried, until his recent demise, really big name in miniatures. He was co-running Heritage Models down in Texas at the time, and he got it into his head that he wanted to do Barsoom miniatures. Green Men and Thoats and Kalots and all the things from Burroughs' Barsoom books. So he, I don't know, kind of got tied into the old boy net that existed at the time and said, why don't you use your new company, Gary, and write a set of rules so that I can sell my Barsoom miniatures? So Gary wrote the rules for Barsoom miniatures battles, and Brian Bloom, who would soon become one of the partners in TSR, wrote a role-playing supplement, so that the Barsoom book was very much like the original Chainmail game. It was many, many pages of miniatures rules and then a short section at the end for role-playing. So Ernie Gygax came up to me one day and said, do you play any games other than D&D? And I said, sure, I'll try anything. So then we played Warriors of Mars.
And did you know Ernie before the gaming? Was Ernie in the gaming club? Is that how you met him, or did you know him before? I'm sorry?
I had been to grade school with Ernie, but we had sort of lost track of each other until high school.
Okay. And tell us about, so I think I read online that you bought, or heard in the interview, that you bought your first copy of OD&D, right, off of, what was it, Don K's porch?
Don K's porch, yes. Don K had passed before I came on the scene, but his widow was still peddling TSR product off their front porch before Gary took it over and started peddling TSR product out of his basement.
And are we talking brown box or white box?
It was brown box. The white box came much later, actually.
Okay. Do you still have that brown box?
No, I have the books, but I don't have the box.
Just need to get a box and
well,
data.
Who would have thought at the time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, who would have thought at the time that these boxes would be so valuable? So
you can blame another company, another Wisconsin company for that. So the Dremel Company, which is located in Racine or Kenosha, makes these little handheld tools which are beloved of jewelry makers and hobbyists everywhere, including a lot of gamers. But my dad had this old Dremel box, which was metal and very large and had a very sturdy clasp. And it was a perfect size to put my 3 original D&D books in, plus all my supplements, plus my Warriors of Mars game. So I took all of that out of the brown box and I stuffed it into the Dremel box. And then I lost track of the brown box. So.
And out goes the brown box. What were you thinking? No.
I wasn't thinking at all. Superman won. What can you say?
Right. So, so tell us about the Dungeon Hobby Shop then, right? So the Dungeon Hobby Shop opens up there, and you said you started hanging out there a lot.
I did.
Okay.
I hung out there so long they finally gave me a job.
And when did you tell us about when you first met Gary? If you remember.
I don't really remember. I think probably I must have come home from school with Ernie one day. And there he was. And there he was. I think that's probably how it happened.
And is it fair to say that you started paying more attention to role-playing games than your schoolwork at Badger High?
My parents certainly thought so.
I said James encourages his son to play. I think he's crazy, but I wouldn't let my daughter near it. It's too addictive. So they eventually they offer you a job, and I think Ernie's working there too, right? I assume at the same time. So tell us a little bit about working at the Dungeon Hobby Shop.
So there was this house at the corner of Williams and Marshall Streets in Lake Geneva, which the company bought, or the partnership bought, with the idea of getting the company out of Gary's basement. And they had turned the ground floor into the hobby shop, whopping 2 rooms.
It's 2:30.
And then upstairs was TSR's offices, and the former kitchen was the shipping department, and the basement was the warehouse.
And so did people have to come through? So the people that were working at TSR, I realized at that point in time, it's very few. But so did they have to go through the hobby shop? So basically you're sitting there, I'm trying to get a sense of this. You're sitting in the hobby shop, and I assume, Gary Gygax walks through upstairs and goes to his office?
Yeah, there was a staircase like a lot of Midwestern houses have, or a lot of traditional houses have. You walk through the front door. Actually, there was an all-weather, so-called all-weather porch there, a glassed-in porch. But you walked up onto the porch and walked through the door, and you were faced with the stairs up to the second floor right there, and the hobby shop itself was off to the left. So there wasn't a terrible inconvenience. People didn't have to go through the shop to get to their offices. If you were working at TSR, you went upstairs to the offices.
And how many people were working in the hobby shop when you started working there?
2 or 3 with out of 9 or 10 that was TSR. So.
And so who was your boss?
Who was my boss? I didn't.
Yeah.
Brian Bloom, I guess, was ostensibly my boss. Yeah.
Okay. And so tell us about a typical day.
I thought he was my boss, but Terry Kuntz was just working at the hobby shop. So.
Okay.
Brian
and so
was certainly the person who gave me my marching orders every day. So.
Okay. And so what were you doing at this? So what were your marching orders? I mean, how many people came into the hobby shop? I mean, did people start eventually? I assume eventually people started coming from out of town, perhaps, to come to the hobby shop?
Almost immediately.
Okay.
Really?
Immediately. Because there just wasn't that many places to buy games at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, model railroad shops occasionally stocked games. Some bookstores stocked games. There really wasn't very many places where you could go to buy games. And this was before credit cards even really became a big thing. So it was actually rather difficult to buy games mail order. You had to fill out a paper form and put it in the mail with a check. So it actually took a bit of an effort. So if there was a place to go, you went. And of course, being associated with TSR certainly was a draw as well. But as far as what I did, whatever needed doing, I mean, that included mowing the lawn and washing the company van and waiting on customers and packing orders or unloading trucks, and whatever needed to be done in any particular afternoon.
And at this point in time, you're I assume you're gaming still, and you play test some of the famous modules, correct? Such as the G series and the D series at that time.
Correct.
Okay, so how did that happen, right? So, because my understanding is Gary had a number of different groups. Right? There's a lot of people, right? There's like 20 plus people, and he would have different groups for different games. So, how did it happen that you were able to play test some of those games?
Well, Gary used whoever was available at the time. So the original D&D playtesters were pretty much all gone from Lake Geneva at that point. Mike Menard and Chip Menard and Tim Wilson and some of those people who were credited as D&D playtesters, they'd gone off to college. They weren't there anymore. So, I mean, I was in the playtest group because I was one of the people who was available in town.
And what do you, so other than the G series, the D series, any other ones that you recall particularly that you play tested?
Temple of Elemental Evil, or at least what became the Hamlet of Hamlet, not the temple itself. Gary's temple did not wind up resembling the temple of the product very much. But yeah, the Hamlet of Hamlet.
Okay. Okay, so tell us a little bit about Gary's style. You know, we've heard so many different stories. We've heard about him sometimes being behind a filing cabinet so you can only hear his voice. Can you tell us a little bit about what it was like to have Gary as a dungeon master?
So Gary was a big fan of the GM screen. As soon as somebody put one of those together, he was using it. Hid the maps. Fairly short on narrative style, but there was always something memorable. There was always a memorable character that he used at least once. So there was always a strong storytelling element, at least at the beginning of every segment. And other than that, Gary was a big fan of feeding out the rope and waiting to see if people hung themselves, and was not particularly prone to using kid gloves. So made a bad mistake in Gary's game. It was time to roll up a new character.
Yeah, I think James, didn't Ernie tell us something about his favorite character was killed off by his dad, and they just
it sucks.
He was in tears.
Sucks to be you. Exactly.
Right. Exactly. So, all right. So,
Do It So Suffer was kind of it never heard him actually say that, but that's a pretty good summation. Gary had a pretty strong wargaming background, and you were supposed to make decisions that your character would make, and if you made a bad decision or if your luck went against you, then too bad. Although I rather suspect that there was a little bit of fudging going on behind the GM screen, so that the whole group didn't go down all at once. I suspect that is the case, although I don't think you would admit that. But if you made an obvious boneheaded move, then yeah, that was it. You suffered.
Was there a favorite adventure that you play tested? So just one that you remember being particularly memorable, that you had a particularly good time going through?
Well, the whole G series was pretty epic, all things considered. We started by going through the front door and dealing with the sleeping giants, and went tiptoeing around for a while in the upper works, and ran into the giantess, and tried our best not to get noticed. And then eventually we got down into the dungeons, and then we just sort of killed everything that moved because we thought we could, and we were right.
And I think I read somewhere online where you said that Gary had been somewhat critical that you guys hadn't tried to parlay, I guess, with more giants and make friends with them and make them allies, and you had not gotten any hint of that apparently during the adventure that was even possible.
Yeah, Gary wrote somewhere, I think it was possibly in his introduction to the first versions, that we had mercilessly killed everything that we met, which is true. We did, but yeah, it didn't really occur to us that there was too many other options.
Did you? So when you're doing a play test, was it like, this is a play test and I want your feedback, or he just ran the module and you kind of, the adventure, and you kind of said, oh, this is good, this is not good? Did you know that was going to be a product, or how did that process work?
I was not aware that it was actually going to be a product. It became kind of obvious from the way Gary was talking later. No, it was more along the lines of him just figuring out what he needed to add, I think, more than anything else. I don't think he was terribly worried about balance or anything else, but he was worried about what a group might do once they got loose in there. So, what sort of eventualities do they need to cover? So I don't know this for sure, but for example, each of the adventures, particularly the Frost Giants and the Fire Giants adventures, there's a section in there for what happens if the party retreats and comes back. And I'm pretty sure that came out of the play tests, just as an example.
Yeah, it's just curious that, playing a module that you think is done versus, we're going to be play testing our tournament module. We're having a tournament in a couple of weeks. It's a different, you approach the adventure a little bit different if you're testing it versus running it, and that's why I was curious if you knew it was done or not done, and would you change your play style because of that?
We ran it. I mean, we were using our campaign characters,
Okay.
so we ran at it like we were doing any other
Gotcha.
game.
Okay.
And so you head off to college, and were you playing during college? Did you play when you came back for summers?
Pretty much came back and played on the weekends from time to time, and played on the summers. Never actually played while I was at school, but I was DMing at the time, so most of my time was spent prepping for my campaign. So I didn't have a lot of time to play while I was away at school.
And when you're in school, you decide that you'd like to become a writer, correct?
At some point, yes.
And I read that it's sort of
in particular, yeah.
I'm sorry?
Thanks to one professor in particular,
Oh, okay.
yes. Yeah.
And then I guess at some point the light bulb goes off that, well, I want to be a writer, and wait, there's TSR, and you put them together.
Correct.
And so how did you end up being hired by we've heard, I know poor Alan Hammock, Gary apparently used to send out, you probably didn't have to take the test. Didn't Gary would send out a test where he would quiz you on your knowledge of the pole arm, and you had to fill it out and send it in. Did you have to take a test?
I did do that once, yes.
Did you? For which job?
I think I just took the test that he sent out for the original group of designers, which I didn't get hired as a designer. I just kept my part-time job. So
was this when was this? When you were
70, 75, 76.
Oh, okay. Oh, so you were pretty young at the time, obviously, when you took that. Okay. So you never got the test back, with markings. Okay, that would be worth something.
I'm not sure he handed any of the tests back.
I think he probably would be brutal. I would think. I wouldn't want to get my test back. So you apply for the job. So how was it that you got a job then? In 1980, you're going to start at TSR. Your hope, of course, at the time is to be a writer. What were you hired as?
So I became the assistant Gen Con coordinator because the hobby shop had moved from the house to a building in the center of town, and they'd hired a lot of the designers' wives to stock it, is what they did, and there weren't hours for me at the shop anymore. So I became Joe Orlowski's assistant running Gen Con.
And was it your hope that you were going to be able to do some writing as well?
Actually, I'd gotten involved in the Gen Con job before I really had made the decision that I wanted to be a writer. But yeah, I did what I did at Gen Con was a lot of editing because we were doing the event catalog. So again, before the internet. So we would get these handwritten forms back where people were submitting events, and I would sit there and translate people's chicken scratchings and then hammer them out on a typewriter.
So there wasn't tabletop events at that point in time?
Was it tabletop event? Yeah, all the pre-registration was done by
the
hand.
skip events, they were called.
Absolutely brutal. Just a brutal process.
Yeah. And so you were working on Gen Con before you went off to college, it sounds like.
I was working on Gen Con while I was at college.
I got you. Okay. And then so you come back and you are the you're assistant coordinator, and very quickly you become the coordinator, right?
That's correct.
Because Joe leaves, I think, very shortly after you arrived. And so tell me a little bit about that feeling. I mean, that sounds, I would be pretty stressed out. I mean, you're a young guy, and Gen Con is growing. And I believe, I got the stats, Gen Con grew. So I think while you were there, it's growing. We got like 4,500, 5,000 people coming. What was your feeling? Were you stressed about it?
No, there was no time to be stressed because it was one emergency after another. And keep in mind, since I was full-time, it was also decided at that point that there would actually be a convention every quarter.
Wow.
So there was Gen Con in August.
Mm-hmm.
There was Winter Fantasy in January. There was Autumn Revel in October, and there was Spring Revel in April. So essentially, I was doing a convention every 3 months. Only one of them was a monster.
Why do I have a feeling? I have a scene in my head where Gary's like Captain Kirk and you're Scotty.
Correct.
Is that fair?
That's very, very.
I'm giving it all she's got, Captain.
I can't do it.
Gary, I don't know that Gary ever really appreciated how much work Gen Con really required, because Gary could remember the days when he did Gen Con by himself. And I'm really not sure that he ever really appreciated what it was like to do a convention that Gen Con became at all.
Can you take us through it? So what would happen, right? So, and we'll just talk about the one, I guess, Gen Con. What happens? I mean, what do you have to do to organize Gen Con in the early 1980s? And I assume, how many people are is anyone working for you?
I had some part-timers here and there, again, often designers' wives. Eventually, a high school pal of mine who had been thinking about joining the Army. He was working in shipping, so that was Dave Conant, became my assistant at one point. And the two of us pretty much, we chopped all the wood, carried all the water.
Wow.
So the typical year would be, there would be a period of cleanup after the previous year's show, collecting all the lost and found items.
Oh, so literally clean up.
Oh yeah, literally clean up. Yeah. Trying to grab our tablecloths back from the Parkside staff. Yeah, that's a story I haven't really told. We used to have bulk green tablecloths cut for a lot of the tables, and we would try to get those back every year, but the cleaning staff at UW Parkside would run down the hallways literally ahead of us and grab them.
That's terrible. What?
It did not occur to me at the time to go over to the campus police station and say, I want to report a theft. But so it goes. So yeah, literally that. And then putting all the chairs back while the professor scowled at us, because academics, they're just really charming people sometimes.
So I had this.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I had this image of like these, boxes like you'd have in stored for Christmas, like that says Gen Con written on it, and there's just a bunch of stuff in there that you then pull out to use each year.
Well, there was some of that, but a lot of that stuff was borrowed. So office supplies and stuff like that, I would sort of raid the company, 2 weekends before, and then that would all have to go back. Yeah, and there were boxes and boxes of stuff.
Okay, so you do the cleanup. So you're literally, the next year's convention starts with grabbing the stuff from the one that's just ended. What happens next?
What happens next then is you start to make all the basic decisions for the coming year. For example, how much are we going to charge for pre-registration? How much are we going to charge for on-site registration? How much are we going to charge for a booth? All of that stuff. And start working on all the publications. So we had a little handout mailer for exhibitors that had to be done. We had to get the pre-registration brochure started because that was going to be tipped into Dragon every year, and that had to be coordinated with Dragon's publishing schedule. There was also Autumn Revel to deal with as well, because that came pretty hard on Gen Con's heels every year.
And how would you rate what would be a successful Gen Con? So when it came time for Gen Con to actually happen, and I said, are you nervous during the event, or at that point in time you're basically like, it is what it is, I prepped, or were there fires to put out during the actual convention?
Constantly.
Okay.
Constant fires to put out. Yeah. Because one of the things that we did is we had the Parkside area wargamers, and they sort of did their own thing. We tried to give them their marching orders, and then the Parkside people the PAW people would do that. And then we would pretty much strip TSR as well and say, okay, here's your job. And they would stand there and go, well, what do I do now? It's like, well, you go do this now. So I would run station to station at the show and say, no, do it this way. And that would happen for about 4 days.
Where were people staying? Is there enough? Because I can't remember, we had somebody on the show where they had not made their first Gen Con. They didn't think they would need to make a reservation. Somebody show up, there's no place to stay. I mean, you're having around 5,000 people show up in Lake Geneva in the early 80s. Where are people staying?
Well, this isn't the big shows, and the shows that I was running they were at UW Parkside in Kenosha.
Oh, that's right. I said Lake Geneva. That's right. You were at Parkside at that point.
Could not get a room. I mean, during Gen Con, you couldn't. There were no hotel rooms available from the Illinois state line up through Milwaukee. So that was part of my job as well, was finding everybody who was working, key volunteers plus the TSR people, slotting them into hotel rooms.
Did you?
Then I would give a roster to the participating hotels and say, okay, here's the list of people. Give them a room.
We have a question from the chat. Did you worked on any of the regional ones like Gen Con South or any of the other branded ones, or is it just the ones in Wisconsin?
I got stuck with Gen Con East one year, but no. Otherwise, Gen Con South was its own thing. Okay. Yeah, the group that was doing Gen Con East one year, they bailed.
Oh wow!
And TSR was the last to know. They dispute that, but the fact of the matter is TSR was notified when the rest of the world was notified. And of course, Gary said, well, we'll just do it ourselves. It's like, yeah, thanks.
Who was we?
We was me.
Right, it was Skip. So any major fires that you remember, oh my gosh, that was almost a total, other than the Gen Con East issue, of course, but with Gen Con itself, any almost disasters or, in fact, disasters?
We don't have enough time. Everything from people complaining about the menu at the little food kiosks at Parkside. It's like, sorry, I don't set the menu. If you're not happy, there's not a lot I can do about that. There's cheese on all the sandwiches, and I'm a Jew. Okay, well, here's a phone book. I don't think you're going to find a lot of kosher in Kenosha, but they're the vendors, and if you don't want to eat what college kids eat, then there's not a lot I can do about that. Making sure that the exhibit area got set up and getting the exhibitors in, and I'm supposed to have this. Well, okay, you need to talk to Badger Expo, which was the equipment supplier, because what you get is what you get with a booth, a backdrop, and 2 side rails and a table per 10-foot booth.
Did you get to have any fun at all?
I'm gonna buy it from Badger. What?
Did you get to have any fun at all during Gen Con?
Very little.
Very little, yeah. Are you glad you did it, though, in retrospect?
Oh, it's a good thing. I mean, I imagine it's a little bit like climbing Mount Everest. It's great. It's great to say that you've done it. Not necessarily so pleasant to do it.
Well, you have to do colonoscopies too, but no one sits there and says, "Hey, that's like." I guess I'm glad I did it because it's better than. But yeah, so.
Yeah,
well, we
yeah.
I mean, we have a very small, not even a 50th of what convention, and we were going to try to do it ourselves, and just the amount of work just to start something from the ground up is tremendous. And we joined on another convention, and it made our lives a lot easier. So, and the guy who ran it, Craig, if he's out there, I mean, he's constantly, he's constantly running around, and and people don't show up, and if you have a special guest, where are they? And left, I don't know. Did you have to monitor where Gary was? Did he have special times when he'd come talk, or did he have,
Gary had a schedule, and Gary actually had a minder, so that wasn't a big deal. Gary always had a minder, and we didn't really do a lot with special guests at the time. There wasn't the facilities to do that, and at age 20, and I was not really tied into all of the nuances of getting special guests either, for that matter, and too much to do. So, I mean, we would get somebody who would, sort of fall into our laps from time to time, like Boris Vallejo. Fell into my lap one year because he was doing some art for TSR. So, okay, well, we'll schedule Boris to do a couple of talks, and then nobody showed up to see Boris because everybody at Gen Con was there to game. So we actually a friend of mine, Don Snow, departed from us some time ago. Sadly enough, he was a very smart psychologist by training, educator as well, and he sort of pulled enough people to fill Boris's. And we had Gardner Fox, who was a favorite of Gary's, and a few people like that. And you schedule them a talk, and launched them. We don't have, again, because I was doing everything. There was not much chance to actually schedule tracks of seminars, and because everything had to be done at once. So.
And could you talk a little bit about it? You're doing some writing at this point, right? So I know there was the Shadowland adventure, which doesn't get published, but you had, right? Gary had written it, and I believe that he had collaborated with you on it. But if my understanding is correct, it doesn't get published.
No, Gary did not write it.
Okay.
So Gary had this idea after the G series was such a phenomenal success that if he could sell piles and piles of adventures if he just put his name on it. So his grand plan was to get other people to write adventures, and he would contribute something to them, put his name on it, and there would be these piles of sales, and he would split the proceeds with the actual author. And there was one taker for that deal, me, because I was not smart enough at the time to understand what he was up to. So bits and pieces of it got written, and bits and pieces of it got published, like the Gloomwing Moth and the Tenebrous Worm and the Shadow Dragon are all creatures that were created for that got published in the Monster Manual 2, I believe. And then, I don't know, 40 or 50 or 60 pages of manuscript that I generated. And that was about it. Shades were also from the showed up in Monster Manual 2.
Cool.
In fact, that was the idea.
Well, see, it fooled me.
that happened.
Okay. And I think at some point, we found online like a cover. It sounds like after you left, there was some thought that they might. I know in Dragon Magazine, there was an announcement that it was going to be coming out. And then I think after you left, there was even a cover for it produced.
Gary announced it in a Sorcerer Scroll.
Yeah.
column.
Yes. Right.
And there were attempts to revive the product, especially after Gary started New Infinities. But
It's 3 o'clock.
It never actually happened. So.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit about the transition from OD&D to first edition? So, our show, we focus on first edition, so obviously that's something we're very interested in. What was your view on the difference between OD&D and first edition? Did you have strong feelings about the difference when first edition started coming out?
Well, from my point of view, first edition AD&D was really sort of the gestalt of the way everybody at TSR had been playing OD&D. So things that people did fairly consistently from campaign to campaign, sort of codified, and that Gary sort of pulling all of that together. So things like, how do you handle initiative, which was never really made clear in OD&D, or AD&D for that matter either. But in expanding the spell list and just codifying all the stuff that people were picking up from between the lines out of the brown box. That's certainly my take on it. I mean, that's what happened with if you remember, the Dungeon Master's Guide doesn't have chapters. It was envisioned as just a series of short articles on how you handle things. So you don't have chapters. You just have these little paragraphs or longer sections. This is what happens when somebody becomes a lycanthrope. This is how you handle sieges, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then Gary went back and actually reworked the character classes. Again, I think just to make them more like the way everybody, or I shouldn't say everybody, but the way the bulk of people were playing them, the serious players were playing them. So things like making a stronger differentiation between the classes. So let's not give everybody a D6, right? Let's go with more hit points for clerics and fighters in particular, and less hit points for wizards, and the rogues get the D6 that everybody else had. And things that had been explored a little bit in the Greyhawk supplement expanded. Gary used to say that one of the ideas behind AD&D was to just promote some consistency of play throughout the whole community. And I think that's as good a description of any of what the whole idea was.
Okay, and then you leave in, I believe, 1983. You leave TSR, and you do some freelancing work. but you're going to come back, right? So and what you do, so you pick up sage advice, right? Roger Moore approaches you about sage advice, and
Yeah, that was one of the things I did as a freelancer.
okay. So tell us a little bit about dealing with sage advice, because it seems like that I'm sure you got obviously some very interesting letters. And actually, wait, I want to back up a second. Hold on. Because James, I put this down on my notes here. Even before that, you were where I had something from a sage advice before that, where it was from back in like 1982 or something like that. Hang on a second. Yes, you make an appearance. So I went through the Dragon magazines. You make an appearance in a 1980 sage advice. I don't know if you remember this, but it was here's the question. The question is, and at this point, the sage is who is our sage, James?
Gene Wells.
Thank you, Gene Wells. Exactly. It says my character is a ninth level.
Yeah, go on. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what the incident is, and so the reason that name Gene Wells came up was my guess.
Yes,
yeah,
it's May 1980. It says, my character is a 9th level druid, changed to a magic user. He is now a 10th level as a magic user. I want to be able to put my previously owned apparatus of Qualish inside my newly acquired mighty servant of Luco. I don't even know what these are. Then I would have the ultimate weapon. If the need arose, I could abandon the mighty servant and escape via the apparatus of Qualish. He gives the ability scores. He has an unbelievable 338 psionic points. Finally, we're getting to the question. Is it possible for my character to change classes a third time? He wants to become a cleric. He is not content to just be able to cast druid and magic user spells. Is there any way for this to happen? Also, if he changes alignment from neutral, does he lose druid powers? Our DM is very big on traps that change alignments. And this is what Gene Wells said. Her first line in her response is, Skip Williams picked up this letter to answer, and the next thing I knew, he was scampering for a hiding place. Wondering what scared him, because not very much does, I picked up the letter. My first reaction was, aye! So my question is, what was your role in this? Because you are at this point in time, you're not the sage. Were you answering letters? What were you doing?
Everybody was answering letters at the time. Again, remember, this is before email. This is before internet chat rooms. So it was the snail mail or nothing. And the mail came in, by the bag. And there was an attempt made to answer the letters for a long period of time. So we just happened to be at the TSR house at the time with a sack of mail. And we were fishing into the mail bag and trying to answer the letters. And then the idea was whoever had the sage hot potato at the time would collect whatever had been answered for that month and write it up for the magazine.
So you were involved in helping to identify letters that would be good candidates to respond to?
I was involved in trying to answer the letters.
Oh, okay.
Whoever was on tap for sage advice that month was in charge of trying to produce those for the magazine. So that month it was Gene. So.
Oh, okay. So then you're freelancing. So tell us then ultimately you become the official sage for sage advice. So what was that like?
Yeah, so eventually people stopped answering the letters. The company got a little bit bigger, and answering letters directly just fell by the wayside. So there was this boxes and boxes of unanswered letters, and somebody had the great idea that we should just go through those and start answering those. So I was hired on a per letter basis to organize these and start answering them. So I think the deal that I worked out was with Harold Johnson at the time. All right, this is what I'll do. I will try to keep up with the new stuff as it came in, and then each week I would work through a certain portion of the backlog. And I got paid on a per letter basis to do all of this. So then I was doing this. Yeah, you're laughing, but that's how it was done. Yeah, and there was no question of doing a FAQ or anything like that, because again, this is pre-internet. So I had been doing that for a while, and just to make it easy on myself, I kept a card catalog which had all my file names on it. I had an Apple IIe at the time and was using, I think, Apple Writer. I wasn't even using Apple Works at the time. I'm not sure that means anything to your current Office, but Apple Writer was like a second generation word processor. So I had a list of answers, letters, questions that I had previously answered that I was using for myself, that, just to give myself a little bit of a leg up in case I ever got a question a second time. And then Roger Moore came along and said, well, you've been doing this anyway. Why don't you just take on Sage Advice permanently?
And what?
I gave him a copy of the catalog, and for a while he would pick a theme. He said, okay, well, why don't you do whatever it was? Why don't you do Magic this month, or until we actually work through all of those.
And how did Roger's sense of humor play a role in the type of responses that you could provide?
Well, Roger's sense of humor got us the April Fool's column. Because, it really did start with somebody asking about if I turned somebody into a worm. My character gets turned into a worm and I get cut in half. Do I have two characters if I get turned back?
I think it's a no.
I just said, okay, you need to answer this question. And I said, I'm not going to answer that question.
I'm a serious writer. And Roger made you answer it, though, right?
Well, so the compromise there is we would do an April Fool's issue.
Yeah.
We would do an April Fool's issue, and it would have all these questions that were, okay, well, we would give reality checks to people. So in this particular case, the first reality check is, if you cut a worm in half, you don't get two worms. That's not the way worms work. What you get is you get a smaller worm and you get a smaller dead worm is what happens in most cases. Unless it's a planarian. Earthworms, no, that doesn't work that way.
And then, and eventually you're hired back, right? So you return. You become a full-time TSR employee again, right? I believe.
Yes.
Right. And you join the RPGA staff, right? And work on Polyhedron.
Polyhedron and tournaments. Yeah, that's what I did.
Okay. And then, and so then you become a designer, right? And an editor, right?
Correct. A designer editor. That was my title.
Okay. And then
they could pitch it pretty much anything they wanted at me. That's a bit of a character flaw,
And you probably did a good job. That's the problem.
So.
You got to do just a good enough job not to get fired. That's always been my
that's
theory.
That's why we've excelled at what we do, because we just do the minimum. Exactly.
That's our
That's
podcast.
basically our podcast.
So, and then Wizards of the Coast. You joined Wizards of the Coast, right? When they acquire TSR, you continue on and you're off to Seattle.
Yep, the land of mold and rot, as my wife used to call it.
Yes, I've read that she wasn't exactly thrilled to be. And you're back. Just so everyone know, you're back in Wisconsin. You're not in Lake Geneva, but you're back in Wisconsin, right?
Yeah, I think one of the things that broke us for is our first house in Seattle. had some fruit trees. So we were monitoring the fruit trees, and we were watching the plums to make sure to pick the plums when they were right. We went out to pick the plums, and the plums on the tree were all moldy.
Hence the name. And that was it.
Yeah. So,
and of course, you worked on. You're one of the authors of Third Edition. And you've got James. Did you play Third Edition?
I did not.
Yeah,
Well,
I didn't either.
I played the video game version of it. Neverwinter Nights was based, and there was some video games. I remember I wasn't gaming at the time, only video gaming at the time.
Both James and I went into a deep freeze for a very long time and just came out of it a few years ago. So I missed second edition, third, fourth. We missed all of those. So all right. So tell us a little bit. So third edition. You obviously you've talked about it before. How would you describe the differences between third and then something that we know first edition?
So one of the things that third edition did, I believe, was just set about answering all the unanswered questions from the previous two editions. For example, how do you actually start an encounter? What does it really mean to be surprised? For that matter, how much can you carry while you're wearing armor? These are not answers. These are not questions that are clearly answered in the previous two editions.
Well, wait a second. I thought in first edition surprise means I get to hack away at you repeatedly.
How many times?
Oh, don't go there. We don't want to have this debate. No, I'm very firmly believe it's just the difference. If you're both surprised, it's the difference between those two die rolls. It's not. We don't want to. James, should we start a surprise discussion?
I don't think.
No.
Yeah. Is it the Pride Pass going to be 2 weeks long? Yeah. So that was part of it. Part of it was just looking at all the things that D&D's detractors had said over the years and seeing about closing up, sewing up those rents in the system. That was not part of it.
Are the demons back and the devils? Didn't the demons and the devils go out on second edition? Or they just got renamed?
So the official story, and this has been discussed elsewhere. Ben Riggs, his audio blog, dealt with this. So somebody made the decision at one point that since Planescape was coming, that's where demons and devils would go. And then somebody else made the decision, well, we can't call them demons and devils because that makes some retailers weird, hinky. So then we got Tanari and Beatazu. So Peter Atkinson was adamant that we would have demons and devils back as demons and devils. So we did. I was adamant that we would keep Beatazu and Tanari because they're names that were unique to the D&D IP, so why would we want to drop those?
But
so this is when you see the demon entry in the original player's handbook, or excuse me, the 3 monster manual. There are Tanari, which are a kind of demon, and there are a few other demons that are just things that live on the abyss.
So we got a question.
But again, an example of dealing with, some of the dirty laundry that the game had picked up over the years.
Yeah, and
there was a long time between second edition and third. It was almost 10 years, right?
What did you and so obviously you're growing not only as a writer but and a designer. You've gone from doing Sage Advice back in the day. Now you changed the game. I mean, third edition it's a different game. I mean, it's D&D, but the mechanic is completely different, and that the D20 rule set and engine became a plethora of games, not even D&D related, came out of it. That from this thing.
D20 Modern.
Yeah.
And Star Wars and
the modern gaming was born from this edition, and the vestiges of the other games. When we talked to Zeb Cook, the second edition was a break Gary. If there was anything from Gary, this was a break from that, only because, like you said, you try to codify things. We have a question about, did you do a lot on second edition at all? Were you working on the products for second edition?
Mostly with second edition, I was a consultant, and the biggest thing that I did was work on spells.
Okay.
So John Pickens, who was the editor on the project, would show up on my doorstep or at lunch or whatever with 20 spells to work on today, and we would work on the spells, trying to get those clear enough so that people could figure out what they did.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I would be nervous writing anything for the D&D audience, because we can be very particular, very picky. Did you have that sense, particularly when you're writing third edition, that, oh my gosh, I'm writing for an audience which is going to be possibly very critical?
Yes, and we dealt with that by saying, okay, here's the goal. The goal is we want everything that we put in there to be demonstrably better than what came before it. And our definition for demonstrably better, again, now remember, we're now in the internet era.
Yeah.
So our example for demonstrably better is if you get into a big argument on a message board, will you get everybody except for 3 or 4 diehards who just won't get it up to agree that you've got a good idea? And that was literally the goal we were striving for. If most people could understand what we were trying to do and why we did it, then we would let the other people stew.
Did you ever miss the days of just receiving letters that you could just sort of file away?
Well, since the letters never stopped, as long as I was, even after I left WOTC, the letters never stopped until 4th edition came, because I was still doing Sage Advice until they got ready to do 4th edition, except they were all in email.
I was going to say, do you remember any that were like just particularly mean, like Dear Mr. Williams, and it just that you remember just lit into you?
Oh, yeah. And they usually followed a pattern. And the pattern, to put it bluntly, was, you do a pretty good job, but 2 months ago you wrote something I disagreed with, so therefore you are subhuman. And once you learn to read that particular subtext, then it's like, you know what? I try to be consistent, and this should not have been a surprise to you that it was written this way. Also, at one point or another, I got a hold of a Charles M. Schulz book where he shared letters. Charles M. Schulz, the cartoonist who did the most loved print cartoon in history, probably, Peanuts. And Charles M. Schulz got hate mail. It was like, okay, you know what? If people can hate on Charles M. Schulz, I really shouldn't be surprised.
It's like these people on YouTube, like you can look up a Beatles song and there'll still be like 500 people with a thumbs down.
Yeah.
Really?
So so you put that in perspective. The entire internet hates you because you wrote this. It's like, okay. I guess I'll have to live with that.
Well, I'm not very familiar with third edition. I'll admit that. But what I do know is that, as best I can tell, it does have a strong following still to this day, right? That there's a lot of people who, because, we try to recruit people to play 1E, of course, and that there's, there is a large contingency out there that really loves third edition, so-called 3.5, and they still play it. So that is a testament to the product you put out along with your co-authors. You weren't involved in 3.5, I don't think, right? 3.5 was after you left?
The 3.5.
Yeah. So I'd like to ask you about, because something that's near and dear to our hearts, of course, is Gary Con. And so maybe you could talk a little bit about how you got involved in Gary Con, and does this feel like deja vu all over again?
Oh, only a little bit. So I see we're coming up on about 3:30 here, so my time. So we should probably think about wrapping it up again. How did I get involved with Gary Con? Luke said, Uncle Skep, I need some help. That was, so Luke asks, and I've never been good at saying no to him. So that's how the hook got
Like The
set.
Godfather, they pulled you back in.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. Yeah, Luke is talking other places about his uncles, and his uncles are just his dad's friends who were around a lot when he was a kid. So people like Mike Reese and Mike Menard and myself and Frank Mentzer and people that were just sort of always in the background when he was growing up. But, the Gary Con was growing by leaps and bounds, doubling in size about every other year. So we needed some. Was it days? Yeah, sure it was, except that the tools are just so much better. You mentioned tabletop events, makes things so much easier.
Mm-hmm. Is it in some respects the same as Gen Con back in the day? The kinds of things you're doing, the types of fires you're putting out?
Well, fortunately for Gary Con, I don't really have to worry about that. Most of what I do for Gary Con, I do ahead of time, doing event submissions and, reminding people that they need to meet their deadlines and talking to people about how their events are going to run and things of that nature. And when the show actually happens, I get to play guest and DM, and I don't really have to worry about what happens physically at the show, unless something really goes and the people we're dealing with need advice. So.
Well, it's an amazing convention. I mean, I've been several times, and it's just phenomenal. And so anybody who has an interest in old school gaming or even new school gaming, they really should go. You may not want me to say that because you guys are probably bursting at the seams. I know, but it's a wonderful convention. So you guys, and what I love about you guys are so responsive. You really are. When you send emails, ask about your events, the status. You guys, you're on Facebook, you're on social media. You're very responsive, and so it's run extremely well. So, congratulations on the success of Gary Con. James, any questions from the chat before we let our
we got
our
a few. So, the Scourge, our dear friend Vic, is March 25th, 2021. Is that going to be the date at this point? Do you think?
Yeah, that's actually been announced.
Yeah.
That sounds right. If you want me to confirm that, I can go digging for it. But if you visit the Gary Con Facebook group or the Gary Con page, they're there. Yeah. So the date is announced, and there'll be a physical convention if we can make it happen. Otherwise, we'll be virtual again.
Okay. Question from Bucky was he wanted to know if, and this was back again, 2E, if there was a plan to make a 2E bestiary in the format akin to the Encyclopedia Magica or Spell Compendiums. He didn't know if you knew about it, but if he did, if you could talk about that.
Well, the original Monsters presentation for 2E was the compendiums when they were loose leaf pages.
Right.
So they actually did that.
Yeah, but
because that's how it's done. Somebody got the bright idea that since there's going to be monsters added constantly anyway, why don't we do them in loose leaf format?
Yeah, see, I didn't play second edition, so I'm not as familiar with the Encyclopedia Magica.
So it actually was done pretty much that way, unless he's actually talking about shortened versions.
Yeah. Well, if
Encyclopedia Magica was all the stuff put together.
Right.
but then that was the Monstrous Manual.
After the fact.
The Monstrous Compendium, which was the original format, which was very similar to the Marvel books, which were loose leaf books.
Right.
That idea died immediately because TSR realized that they couldn't do single sheet monsters. It would just be too big and too expensive to do, for example, a monster on one page and an illo on the back, which is what you would need to have. Was you need to have one monster per sheet
Right.
for it to be infinitely sortable. So the whole idea kind of died. It was not particularly well thought out.
Yeah, it's
So then they eventually got rid of that and then put out the nice big thick book, which is as close to the Encyclopedia Magica as you ever got. It's the Monstrous Manual versus the Monstrous Compendium.
right. Obviously your big role in third edition. Carlos asks, what's your favorite edition? Did you continue to keep playing fourth edition, fifth edition?
Oh yeah, I play fourth edition and fifth edition. Whenever I get the chance. Fourth edition, I like to say, is great for learning on the fly. But if I have my druthers, I play 3.5.
Okay.
It's my game.
Yeah.
It's 3.
So.
Yeah.
So did you agree, and I don't know anything about 3 and 3.5, but my understanding is 3.5 were some minor changes. So it sounds like you agreed with the changes, or I guess gap filling maybe that 3.5 did?
I sort of have mixed emotions about 3.5. My view is that it came out a little too quick. It was not something that the community was really asking for. There were certainly plenty of things that we could do with it, but I'd have been happier if we'd waited a little bit longer for the community to say, here, it's time for us to do a few things.
Do you know why they put out 3.5 that soon?
Oh, I think it was largely a business decision. It's like, here, let's do it. Let's prime the pump so we can drain the well again. And I mean, 3.5 is lots of things. Came to light after 2.5 million or 3 million people had been playing the game for a couple of years. Yeah, it's kind of hard not to notice that there are some things that need tweaking. So again, it's a demonstrably better version of the game, so it fits that category. But maybe it would have been nicer if we waited another year. And there are a few things that happened just because the people who got the assignments wanted to do them. So
the last question from Carlos is, what about Greyhawk, or what's your favorite official setting? Do you have an official setting that you like the best?
I don't care much for settings, frankly. Settings are great for looting, but I'm not really a big fan of the commercial setting. I mean, if I have to pick a favorite setting, it would have to be the Forgotten Realms. That's the one I actually did the most work in. So I did the 3.0 version of Forgotten Realms. That was the lead designer on that. That was a big chunk of my life right after I did third edition. So I got to know that setting pretty well. So if I have to pick one, that would probably be it. Greyhawk to me is always Gary's game, and that did not have a lot to do with what was published. So.
All right. Well, great. Those are the questions we had. So, Dan, anything else for Skip? Since we're getting up on 3:30 his time, a little past.
No. Skip, thank you so much. It's been real
Hey,
enjoyable.
Skip, if people want to reach out to you, how do they reach out to you? On social media or what?
I'm on Facebook. My old address that I used to use for Sage Advice, yesage@aol.com, is still active.
Oh, that's awesome.
Somebody, I think it was one of you, was talking about my prehistoric email addresses. But yeah, I'm an earlier adopter. So yeah, yesage@aol.com. That's doable. Or private message me on Facebook.
That's great. Yeah, well, I'm sure, again, people like you who are part of the early thing and continued forward. What do you think about the quote unquote, not only the OSR renaissance, but role playing in general? That, we've asked this question. Did you know it was when did you know Dungeons and Dragons was going to be a special and that you were living through a special time? When did that kind of hit you that this game that you guys were playing in Lake Geneva was going to become, now attributed to so much of our culture?
If I had a sort of a moment of clarity, it would have to be during the height of the Satanic Panic. I just happened to be in the office area, and I don't even remember the name of the employee, but one of the employees, administrative assistant or something, was lamenting about, the hate mail that we were getting, and she was very concerned because she was a Christian herself, and and wondering out loud if we were actually doing anything worthwhile. And I think it was Troy Denning stepped up on the conversation and said, there's so much creativity out there already that we are going to see a whole generation of artists and authors and even poets, and they're going to exist because D&D is here. My gosh, he was right.
Absolutely, yeah. That very impressive.
I think that was that.
That's awesome. Well, Skip, thank you for your time today. The folks online say thank you so much for your time and your thing. And of course, you always have an open. What are you working on now at this point?
Right now, I have got working with one of the small publishers, and kind of without a contract. So I'm not terribly motivated to finish his stuff.
Go figure.
And that process is, so that's actually Forgotten Realms material, 5e Forgotten Realms material. I'm finishing up a Monster Lair. And if I ever get off my duff and actually finish it, I will turn that over to him, and he may actually do that. I think he's doing PDFs. And then there's also a Kickstarter that's launching, for which I actually do have a contract, so I actually have to get that contract signed to get going. But that's it's sort of Neverwinter Nights-ish. It's sort of the publisher is already doing minis, and it's essentially a campaign setting Cold Climb. So
awesome.
That and getting Gary Con restarting my things right now.
Well, if you send us a link for the Kickstarter, we'll be happy to put that on our things as well and let people know about that.
Well, I'll ask him for one, and I will do that for you.
We'd be happy to do that. So, so thank you again, Skip, for your time. So on behalf of Grog Talk, I'm James.
And I'm
that's
Dan.
Skip Williams. Thank you again, and we'll see you all next time on Grog Talk. Take care.